Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gary Godsoe, and welcome to Velocity Online Racing's coverage of Round 6 of Season 13 of the VOR Signature Series, the IndyCar Championship. It might be March, but this month, or right now, this actually does kick off the month of May for all of us, as we are now in Indy season for many of these leagues, as we are now getting into the thick of it for this period of the year on iRacing. We are here at the Indianapolis Superspeedway for the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing Indianapolis 500-mile race presented by ALZ.org. Joining me in the booth, as always, for the VOR races this season is Klendy. Klendy, welcome to the broadcast, and also joining us, he should be here after grabbing a little bit of liquid water refreshment before we start off on our 500-mile journey, is my partner that I broadcast with in the Classic IndyCar Series Winter Series, and also over on Dark Horse, and that is the Catalyst, Andrew Wood. Gentlemen, welcome to Indianapolis, as we are now underway under pace laps for our 3 wide starts here coming up in a couple laps. Opening comments, make them quick because we got a big lineup to read.
Yeah, we've got a big field today, just like the real deal. 32 drivers. They're going to start 3 abreast here at the 2.5-mile rectangle. Look for drivers in the back to go off sequence and just survive. We have 200 laps today at this 90-degree cornered racetrack with very little banking, and it is hot, hot, hot. So lots of aero push, lots of wash. Drivers are going to have to survive to get to maybe lap 180, and then they're going to start making their moves to the finish.
Yeah, Klendy, you made reference to before, it is definitely a hot track. It is a toasty, warm day here in Indianapolis, and I really appreciate you two guys letting me join you for this broadcast here. We got a full field of guys that are ready to really just kind of settle in, especially if they know that it's this hot. It's going to be very difficult to really make the moves they want early on, but staying clean and staying confident is really what it's going to take to be successful here today, I feel.
And we are already starting the lineup as we're through row 3 already. Moving on back to row 4. It is Tessera, Christensen, and Murphy. Back to row 5. We got Seb Kinder, Nick Pollard, and Silvazzi. Back in row 6. Aiden Millward driving the green car. We had a little bit of a debate over how much good luck that will bring him. We shall see. The boss man right next to him in the middle, and his associated teammate Gary Lovern on the outside. Back to row 7. Hugo Gallas is back there along with Weber and Hodson. Back to row 8. Our beneficiary of today's race, one of our sponsors, Dan Inch in the ALZ.org car. Matt Brewer on the middle and Lucas Santos on the outside. We got Tim Bree, Molina, and Rizza back in row 9. We got Pim, Kraus, and Gretsch in row 10. And back in row 11, we got Griffin Yellen and Maddie Sinclair. We have 32 cars lining up here.
It's such a great feeling to see these cars back at Indy already. It's March, like you mentioned in your opener there, but these guys are ready for Indy no matter what time of year it is. And this 3-wide start really kind of gets you in the mood for a 500-mile race and seeing exactly how these guys are going to navigate this, especially in these conditions here.
This will be starting on green. Look for Mason Mitchum, who surprised in qualifying, to take the fight here to Liam early.
Updated weather conditions before we go green. 126 degrees. Track temperature 77 ambient. Here we go. 500 miles, 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing Indy 500. Green flag in the air, and we are underway as the rows of 3 scream down the front stretch and into turn 1.
Strauss got a great jump.
We got contact already. We got one into the wall. And that is Strauss.
Was an incident out of turn 2.
And right off the bat, contact going into turn 1, and it looks like Liam O'Sullivan might have got into somebody. And let's watch this again. No, it's not Liam. Liam has the lead. So Mason Mitchum, I think it's a bit of a run.
No, it was Liam. Liam hits the grass, I think. Unforced error.
iRacing forgives him, though. They gives him back the wing, but Mitchum, not sure what happened. So he hit the grass, he said? Let's watch this again.
It looked like he was starting to turn down towards the grass and maybe sort of touched that beginning of the apron there and got a little scared that the car may react a little separately, so he might have turned out of it a little bit, and unfortunately there was a car on the outside there.
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. He got loose as he turned into the corner, and that is a known problem here at Indianapolis on the starts and restarts. These cars can be loose in the middle of turn 1. We've seen it a lot in the fixed series when they have the fixed Indy 500 here. We've seen it before in the past here in VOR, and once again, coming up to speed where you don't have all of physics helping you with the downforce. The car got a little loose as he turned into turn 1, as he had a shallow entry, and that's kind of what started this.
Everyone's nerves are kind of tensed up here, especially at the start of this race. You know you have a front row start, you're at the top of a 500-mile race, and next thing you know, you're kind of just following a straight line going towards turn 1, and if you turn a little bit too early, you're like, oh no, I think I'm kind of messing up my entry a little bit, but I'm going to be honest with you here. The fact that this happened at the front of the field and only a couple of cars got collected is actually kind of a miracle here, because it could have been much, much worse. But a lot of guys have their race still way ahead of them. It's unfortunate for a few folks, but we trudge on here, and we keep a lot of guys out of the wall and without crash damage.
Well, the entire front row is now either out of the race or marred back in the field because they had to come to pit road and get some damage looked at. So the lead is now picked up by Craig Forsyth, who started in 4th. He is now up 3 spots and is our leader in the early stages, followed by Jesper Orman, Nunez, Wagner, Solwedge, Seegers, Christensen, Tessera, Murphy, and Kinder, your top 10. Klendy, have you seen the problem of when these cars come up to speed about getting loose in turn 1? And if you face that, and I know I've faced it, but talk about how you bring these cars up to speed in turn 1, especially if turn 1's going to be loose. What do you have to combat that against?
Well, it's a 3-part problem. At Indianapolis here with the 3 wide starts, the leader starts further to the inside than he will the rest of the day, except for when he's defending at the very end of the race with somebody diving to his inside. Your tires are cold and you're not up to speed. Those 3 things together means your car has less grip due to mechanical, because your tires aren't hot, less grip because of aero, because the wings on your car are not generating maximum downforce, and you have a compromised entry like Andrew talked about. If you can't go from the wall to the line, you've got to turn the wheel more. And when you're not generating the downforce and don't have the mechanical grip, the car just gets upset very easily. Especially here at Indianapolis, at the white line, there's a decreased amount of banking down by the curb and the grass. And whenever the car catches that, especially if it's full on fuel, it's going to rotate the weight very aggressively. I think Liam just saw what was happening, tried to catch the car with the wheel, and there's not a lot you could do besides, back that corner up. And if you don't want to get jumped by the 31 cars behind you, you've got to go in there as fast as you feel comfortable. O'Sullivan, I think, just went in there maybe 1% too hot.
It's very difficult to try and come up the track too, and try and open up the entry, kind of like Klendy is talking about here, where you didn't really want to enter that shallow. That's not something you ever practice, especially if you're just running normal laps around here. But if you're starting on a 3-wide start, and perhaps Liam may not have had the start that he wanted, that he was able to get kind of the advantage to have the full track to the right side to take advantage of, then he puts himself more in a box that could lead to some sort of disaster like this.
One note for the overlay, Gary. It looks like it has the wrong lap count.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I'm working on it right now.
Coming back to green here, Forsyth takes them away, followed by Orman and Nunez. Altena on the comms.
I'm showing 124 laps, so let me see what we can do here. 120 to go. Something's not right with the way that the session is set up or something. You showing a 200 lap race in the iRacing overlay?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna. Not sure why that's doing that. We will do our best to work on it. I do have a supplemental overlay. It says we're at lap 6 of 200.
You can already see based on that restart that the drivers are very strung out, and that has a lot to do with these hot conditions. If you really want to get a jump on someone, you really should have done your best to try and stay as close to the rear as you can. It's very, very different from a late race Indy restart that we would normally see, where drivers are kind of on top of each other within a lap or two. And you can see that much of the drivers are spread out in the top 10. The top 10 is actually separated by almost 5 seconds at this point.
Single file all the way around. No one really in close proximity to one another. Jesper Orman, purple lap that time by 2:17.2. As Orman is now your leader over Forsyth, as he assumed the lead just very shortly after that restart. Forsyth second. Luis Nunez, the pro, in third. Matt Wags, he's back and fourth right there, as we got 2 players' liveries out there on the racetrack. Solwedge is in fifth. Seegers sixth. Christensen 7th, Tessera 8th, Murph in 9th, and Silvazzi in 10th. Your biggest gainer of the day right now is Matthias Kraus and Griffin Yellen. They are barred deep in the field, but they are up 10 spots. Currently sitting on pit road is Matthias Strauss, Hugo Gallas, and Seb Kinder. Also Mason Mitchum now on pit road.
I believe Mason Mitchum actually made contact on the turn 1 wall on the restart, and he's car suit damage. He's called it a day.
Already, so one of our front row qualifiers is out. So now, as we started this race with 32, we're down just like that. That's what car to the inside wall down the backstretch, and that is Rizza as he smacks the inside wall. I don't think we're gonna go caution, as he is well out of the line of traffic. What the heck happened there?
Hot track arrow wash. Looks like just in the short shoot.
Wheel DC. Had to be a wheel DC. Either a wheel DC or he was in VR and the VR flash, so he did the next best thing is get out of the way. But that is a day done for Rizza back in 28th. Meanwhile, back up front, Forsyth picks back up the lead over Jesper. Nunez in third. Wagner still fourth, as these top 3 are starting to pull away just a little bit.
Wonder if that's not a little bit of friendly co-opetition between Forsyth and Orman, just trying to break away from the rest of the field, basically guaranteeing themselves the top 2 spots of the podium. Who gets silver and who gets gold could get determined in 100 laps or 180 laps from now.
Definitely seems like there's a lot of swap drafting going on between these 2 guys up front, which kind of leaves Luis Nunez a little bit exposed to any other driver that's hanging behind him. But I'm wondering how much fuel there might be saved in this particular circumstance as well.
Well, if you remember, and this goes back to one of the official Indy 500s. Ooh, Craig almost in the wall there on corner exit. I forget who the leaders were, but they were swapping the lead all day long, and it was Alexis Newsom that hung out in third and just stayed in their draft. And by virtue of staying in the draft, she was able to cut out a pit stop at the very end of the race. So while everyone else had to make, 6 stops, I think is what it was, or maybe 7 stops, she was able to do it 1 less stop than everyone else and got the win that way. being in third, if you can economize back there, is not a bad spot, but he is starting to fall back a little bit, and he isn't getting full aid of the draft. He's getting some aid of it, but not a lot.
Honestly, I think Forsyth... Oh, go ahead, Wood.
I was going to say, it's a measure of trying to figure out if it's better to kind of ride in the dirty air and put yourself in a higher fuel map where you're not going to lose too much time, but you could save a little bit of fuel along the way.
I was going to say that when you have two cars swapping in front of you, those two cars are generating double the amount of dirty air, because if you watch here, Forsyth offsets from Orman, they're running, 30% of the same groove, but that's all of the fast racing surface here at Indianapolis. That leaves Nunez with no clean air and no fast line through the corners and terrible push on exit. In order to save fuel, you need to be much closer to the cars in front of you. So he may be on an approach where he's trying to conserve tire rather than fuel.
And speaking of tires, the rule set for today, we have 9 sets, 1 in the car, 8 in the pits, 100% fuel. There are no fuel capacity limitations. We're doing 200 laps, 500 miles. Pit road speed limit is 60 miles per hour. Gentlemen, very easy trivia questions. Who has the track record at Indianapolis?
The qualifying record or the actual record?
The actual, that is the qualifying record. Who has the qualifying 1 and 4 lap track records at Indianapolis?
Is it Leindijk?
Yes. Ari Leindijk still has it, set back in 1996 with a speed, a single lap speed of 237.498, a 4-lap average of 236.986. But remember, he was a second-day qualifier back when they had a certain set of qualifying rules that only those that qualified on day 1 were eligible for the pole. So he started deep in the field with the track record that still stands today. The pole record, actually, that was just reset last year. That is 234.2 by Scott McLaughlin.
I actually was going to say Scott McLaughlin in that.
That is the pole record, as a matter of fact. So the pole speed's never exceeded the track record yet.
I had Ari Leindijk in my mind, but I was scared to say him just because I knew that a record was broken last year. So I'm glad that Klendy went before me there.
Well, I'll give you an easy one here.
Scott McLaughlin.
Who are the career wins leaders here in IndyCar history at Indianapolis on the for the 500?
Helio?
That one's going to be Helio. That one's going to be AJ Foyt. I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you're right.
Andretti? Mario?
Keep going. There's 2 more. There's 4 of them.
I think Rick Mears.
Yes.
I can't remember the other one.
Al Unser Sr.
I knew it was a racing family. That's why I guessed Andretti. Oopsie.
We all know the Andretti history at this track. We won't go into that one.
Only 1 dub for the Andretti family, but some races they dominated so much they should have more than 1, but only 1 dub for the Andretti's. 1969, Mario won that race and was robbed of so many others. Michael the same way. Marco specifically with 1 in 2006. Caution on the racetrack, and we are under caution conditions. And
2 cars on the back stretch.
Yeah, Pim and Griffin Yellen. Oh,
unfortunately, looks
my
like
gosh.
Griffin got a little bit of the exit looseness that Klendy was mentioning before, and unfortunately came back up on the racetrack, and poor Pim was an innocent bystander in that one.
Griffin's hit, the way that he came off the wall, kind of reminiscent of Scott Pruitt from 1995, I think, that 95 Indy 500. Just kind of grazed the wall and then shoot off into the inside wall, and then bounces, ping-pongs off it, and poor Pim is right there and innocently gets collected. And so we are under caution yet again here at lap 17 of 200. Oh, my goodness, what a hit.
I'll tell you what, if any of the leaders pit here, you guys can call me stupid the rest of the day, because it doesn't cut a stop to stop yet. I think you need to go your full 30-ish laps. I would be surprised if the whole field comes here.
Yeah, isn't it like more like if you...
oh, you guys can call me stupid. They're all coming.
We'll see.
I think one of the factors here is that if some of the leaders come in.
Oh,
the rest
no,
the
not
field
all of them.
being
We got some
quiet
pump
and
fakes. We got some pump fakes out there, but go ahead. Continue your thought, Wood.
Yeah, you kind of finished my statement there that you're going to bring some of the guys up in the top 10 or so down the pit lane if you go down there as well, just because everyone's kind of following at this point and not really trying to make themselves a little bit different from the rest of the field. But some of these guys that are in the middle of the pack are really going to do something different here, try and give themselves less dirty air that they've been experiencing. And it could be a good strategy. It's very, very, very early to tell at this point.
Well, this really pays off for Matty Sinclair, who chose to pit on that first yellow, and then Leo O'Sullivan has gotten all of his track position back. Lucas Santos has jumped up 19 spots from the start of the race, and Professor Mark Murphy did a little bit of tabulations and felt that he'd rather be leading this race than having an extra stop under his belt.
Yeah, doesn't really the window to kind of do this correctly, pit stop wise, doesn't really open till lap 20 anyways. If you wanted to do that, then 20, and then every 30 laps after that basically will take you to 200. So even anytime inside of lap 20, if you can't pit, don't pit. And then outside of 20, that's typically when you want to pit. Is that the kind of the rule of thumb that everyone kind of follows still in the community?
I mean, in a perfect world, you can cut this race into two 100-lap races where you go 33, 33, 34. Since we're not at 34 yet, I didn't feel like there was any point, but I feel like the leaders maybe felt like they couldn't save enough fuel to get to 33 or 34.
Realistically, you want to try and predict what's going to happen later on in the race, but you never know what's going to happen during the race, especially in these hot conditions where maybe you kind of want to make your own fate early and see if you can get some track position. But I don't fault any of these guys up at the top that were trying to top off the tanks, get some fresh tires, and go from there.
Let's watch everybody as they come through turns 1 and 2. Any loose conditions, or did we learn our lessons? And I think we did. Back up front, here comes Liam O'Sullivan to the outside, to the inside of Santos. Into 3 and 4, they're still going side by side. Santos isn't going to give him any room whatsoever and any inches whatsoever to allow him to pass, but they finally pulls it off. And Liam now up to second spot as Murph sees that in his rearview mirror going, that's right, boys, you just keep racing like that. I'm going to drive away with this clean air in front of me.
Under caution, Murphy had been very happy to see Lucas Santos behind him, and I think that's because it kept Liam O'Sullivan one spot back. I think it's actually the opposite. I bet Murph, not that he's shaking in his boots, but would prefer the calm, collected Lucas Santos rather than the fiery, aggressive Liam O'Sullivan right behind.
I think Liam is definitely reeling from that lap 1 incident where he lost a little bit of his mojo there starting on pole position. So any opportunity that Liam gets to get himself back up there is definitely something that he wants to put under his belt.
Well, we had two competing. Go ahead.
Liam brings a lot of fans to the chat every week, so I'm sure he's trying to put on for mom and dad, grandma and grandpa watching across the Atlantic Ocean, just to say, hey, look, I can lead this thing. Look, I can lead the biggest race of the year.
And we got competing strategies now throughout the field. The leaders either have not pitted or pitted at lap 3 or 4. Murph is not pitted, and neither is Santos. Liam, of course, came in to get his car looked at after the lap 1 incident. He pitted on lap 3, and Matty came in at lap 4 just before going green to top off the tank, as he is piloting Nigel's car there from the 93 and 94 Indy 500.
Watching Craig Forsyth, the first car that's on the fresh tires here, to see what kind of work he can do back here in P6, because he has the fresh tires, so theoretically he should be able to kind of maneuver any line he wants despite the dirty air that's coming from the cars behind. But eventually, once you run these tires out for about 10 laps or so, it'll start to equalize a little bit, and he won't really be able to make much progress. But I'm pretty sure he's in a point now where he can control his own destiny and basically kind of figure out how much he wants to move up before he starts the fuel save, and the rest of these guys need to pit, knowing he's going to take the lead back over again.
Well, that was my question. I was going to get ready to ask you, Andrew. How hard do you race and abuse those tires, knowing that the cars in front of you with the exception of Jesper, but the first 4 cars in front of you, they're all going to have to come down pit road sooner rather than later. Murph at 22 laps, so he probably has another 10 to 15 in the tank. Same thing for Santos. Liam and Maddie probably have closer to 15, maybe 16 in the tank left. I mean, how hard do you race when you have a fresh tires, full tank, knowing that those guys in front of you all got to take a dip down pit road not too long in the future?
Well, I think you want to race as hard as you possibly can, because you know no matter what, and no matter how much your tires get abused during the stint, that you're going to have the clean air after a while. So it's kind of a battle between Jesper and Craig right now, because they both want to kind of outdo each other and make sure that they have the clean air once those cars dip off to the pit lane. And clean air is king around here, so especially once you know that the cars are going to peel off ahead of you, you're going to have a level of confidence that despite your tires being more slightly worn, you're going to have a better advantage than where you are right now.
To add to that, I don't think I've ever seen Craig Forsyth run an IndyCar race where he wasn't saving fuel from the driver green. So I think Craig is probably pretty happy to be hanging right on to Jesper's coattails saying, yeah, you go ahead, break the wind, buddy. I'll be right behind you getting better MPG the whole way. Or I guess LPL for him in Canada.
At the same time, though, you definitely want that advantage to be the first car that gets the clean air, because regardless, if you drive hard, as much as you can't control the narrative because the car ahead of you is on the same strategy, you're going to be wearing out your tires at the same rate as the car ahead of you. So it could be good and it could be a little bit detrimental at the same time. And unfortunately for the guys that pitted with them that were once running in 4th, 5th, 6th place, now are sitting at the bottom of the top 10, and they just have a wall of dirty air behind or ahead of them, rather, that they really can't follow in the steps that they want to do.
About racing hard when you're at the front, I'm wondering if Mark Murphy's going to change his tune if Liam O'Sullivan ever gets into a position where they can swap draft, like Forsyth and Orman were earlier. It will be to Mark's advantage, especially after these two drivers pit before everyone else and they have clean track. They should come out relatively about 5 or 6 seconds ahead of where they are on track right now. And then they can start swap drafting to catch the end of the pack, who will all be pitting, 15, 16 laps later down the line.
Let's take a look at Kostek Soloway. He was following John Christensen for 9th place there. He just took down the turn 3 wall, and poor Soloway now has floor damage on the car, and that is a long day at Indy, because that is not something that's able to be repaired. You can already see he's sort of lost that gap to Christensen up ahead of him. And now the cars behind him are going to do everything they can to try and take advantage and get by.
Jonas Weber coming to pit road behind him. That is check out the camber of that front wheel. That is not right. There's your problem. And that might be day done, as that right front is not in alignment.
You got the short chute in between 1 and 2 the lap before. That'll be day done for Jonas Weber.
I was just checking out the wind conditions, because as we know, the wind plays a big factor here, especially once you're in this dirty air. It's actually a pretty calm wind coming from the south-southwest right now, so I don't think wind's going to be playing so much of a factor right now, but I think you got to find what side of the track the car works better on and use that to figure out how to get a spot or two using the draft and able to use that downforce that we were talking about previously in the broadcast here to see how your car gets the best advantage going down these straightaways and make that pass.
129 degrees track temperature. I don't think I've ever seen it this hot at Indianapolis, not even during the fixed races, not even during qualifying for the Elite Racing League. It is smoking out there. Murph, your leader, he is now 29 laps into his stint. Expect him to come to pit road anytime in the next 10 laps for sure. He would like to see that caution, but he might not get it, so we will see what happens. Liam O'Sullivan will probably join him a lap or two after on pit road. Santos, about the same time Murph comes to pit road, Santos will as well. Sinclair, more closer to the strategy of what Liam O'Sullivan is on. And then we have the group of, I guess we have strategy A and strategy 1A. 1A is the group of cars that stopped at lap 18, and that is Jesper Orman leading that group right now. And then we got Craig Forsyth in 6th, who is also part of that group that pitted at lap 18. So pit stops quickly coming in terms of green flag and scheduled stops for the top 4 here anytime.
Yeah, Murphy will definitely be the first to come. He's been breaking the most air here from the lead, and he did not top off on lap 3. I don't believe Murphy wants to see a yellow. Actually, I think he wants this thing to run green, because Jesper and company behind him on strategy B haven't cut a stop, right? They're all going to be coming in multiples of 30 throughout the race because they only went 16 laps on their first attempt. As long as Mark can make it to lap 34 here, and with the yellow laps, I believe he will, a yellow will just put him back in the lead because he's not going to go a lap down when he pits.
You stole the words right out of my mouth there, Klendy. I think the best time for a yellow to come out would be in between the Murphy or the A and B strategy here, the Murphy stop versus the Jesper and Craig stop. So I think that's exactly what they're looking for, because anything that sets off the strategy of the 30-lap pit stops will be helpful to anyone that's on that long run strategy, as they're the ones that are in the minority in terms of pitting early.
Jaco Steigers gets a run on Kostik Stowedge and gets a very late dive into 3 as he caught him right about where the turn was going to start for those drivers, and he just throws it in there and he gets the pass on him. But wow, that looked a little awkward. And now we got Silvazzi getting a full run on Stowedge. He's going to kind of do the same thing. He's going to be down low with dirty air in front of him from Steigers, and he is not going to be able to pull that off. Stowedge is giving room to the bottom to Silvazzi. Silvazzi now has a run off the corner. Going to take a look to the inside, coming down the back straightaway. Separates 2 portions of the Brickyard Crossing golf course, and Silvazzi gets the pass on Stowedge, moves Stowedge back to 12th, Silvazzi up to 11th. So some passing is happening here on the racetrack, but I think a lot of it is what you mentioned too. It's because Kostik made a mistake, and he's running a little damaged out there right now.
It gets worse and worse as the tires wear too, because even if someone's going underneath you, there's nothing that you could do that will counteract that. And once someone gets that run going on you, it just makes for such a long day, and nothing's out of the realm of good finish for Kostik here. Let's not get that twisted, but I think he's going to have a hard day, especially if he doesn't have the straight line speed or the means to really defend anyone that comes underneath him.
Murphy to pit road here.
And
Santos came last time.
Santos just coming off of pit road right now. Murphy making his scheduled stop here at lap 35.
So mission accomplished for Murphy. He's on the minimum number of stops from the start of the race, just like everyone else. He made it to 34 or beyond. From here on out, he needs to make one more 34, and then the rest are 33s.
Nick Pollard also on pit road. This is, looks like it's scheduled, but he's coming in a little early.
And that may put him in danger of going a lap down to the leaders just because he did not have the track position when he pit.
Liam O'Sullivan's scheduled stop coming to pit road right now. First scheduled stop. Second time in the pit, definitely the first stop was not scheduled for him.
Unless he had some sort of master plan that we're all unaware about, that first stop was definitely unscheduled.
The master plan was cause a caution going into turn 1 on lap 1. Hit immediately. Profit. It's kind
Perhaps the question marks of the missing step was eliminate 30 cars behind me.
It's a strategy like the underpants gnomes from South Park. Collect underpants, step 1. Step 2, step 3, profit. Matty Sinclair on pit road, scheduled stop for Matty. Remember, he started deep in the field, so he stayed out and actually did get a chance to pick up the lead, and he is done down and away. First stop of the day done for Matty. First of many Now we turn the lead over as we talk to this second group of drivers, Jesper Orman, who has pulled himself out to a 1-second lead over Forsyth. Forsyth has himself, let's look at the gaps now, because the gaps are starting to get pretty big here. Forsyth has himself a 1.6-second lead over Nunez. In fact, he has broken the draft envelope.
Sinclair leapfrog Santos there through the green flag stop. Oh, but Santos is going to get him on the backstretch. Maybe they'll be able to leapfrog together to run down O'Sullivan and Murphy.
Yeah, they need to work together. Hopefully they both recognize they're on the same strategy. Instead of racing each other, they work together.
Problems continue for Solo Y here. He's about to lose another spot to Aiden Millward. He's going to drop out of the top. Ooh, it looks like he's hanging on there a little bit, but that side pod damage is definitely preventing him from picking up any spots or sticking near anybody, and I think Aiden's going to have this spot going into turn 1.
Yeah, his car is pushing like a dump truck right now. It's just not handling right.
I find it very interesting to see the big gaps between all these guys in the top 8 or so. Got about 2 seconds apiece amongst all of them here, and yes, the conditions are kind of conducive to more push in the car, but at the same time, some of the clean air will be able to get these guys to maybe be slightly closer to one another, because you don't want to lose too much time, especially if you're trying to pick up a spot in the pit lane or something like that, and maybe everyone's kind of in a fuel save mode right now, and this is the point of the race typically where people just kind of find their spot and find their general momentum and basically where they are on the track. But I would like to see these guys a little bit closer to try and challenge one another as we get towards the end of this this B strategy fuel stint here.
Can you control the weather, Andrew? If you can, then you can get the cars closer together.
You know, some people have said that about me, as I have a weather background, but in this case, I really can't do much. I actually took a look to see what the cloud cover is, because I'm sure anything that these guys want right now is a little bit of a cloud cover to cool down the track a little bit, but it is bright blue skies out there, and there's a couple clouds in the distance, but nothing that'll really put any sort of shade over this track in the foreseeable future.
Watching Silvazzi run down Seigers on the backstretch. Silvazzi actually is kind of tearing into him a little bit. It's getting some better turns than Jaco at the moment. And, hey, Clindy, check out chat. The 44 Army has returned. And they're all cheering on Christensen in 5th. There he is. He has worked his way up 6 spots inside the top 5 now.
Got that baby blue machine dialed in, moving up through the field early today, but let's see if he can get on the podium just like yesterday.
Your biggest gainers of the day. Let's go back to P11 and Tane Hodson. Hodson is currently up 10 spots. He's in 11th there. Right behind him is the host with the most, the boss man, Joan Altena. He has worked his way up 5 spots to 12. Matt Brewer, he's one of our members of the real world IndyCar community here in the lineup. He is currently in 13th, up 10 spots. Matthias Kraus right behind him, up 15 spots. Hugo Gall is coming to pit road, as you see there on the screen. Kyle Gretsch, he is also up 15 spots.
We're getting closer to that Group B pit stop scenario. I believe in the next 4 laps, we're going to start seeing Jesper, Craig, and the rest all come down pit lane to do their usual second stop here, and hopefully under green flag stops, there's no issues. And as it's spread out as much as it is right now, I'm not really sure if there's going to be much in the way of movement there, but we'll have to see how they kind of file out with those guys that had hit about 7 or 8 laps ago.
And we'll see if anybody has any penalties as well. A very easy thing to do here, especially when you get into these doldrum laps now, as we're well into this 500-mile race, 44 laps of 200. You start, the mind starts to wander, the body neglects you a little bit more each lap as it passes by. And you make mistakes as you get into the middle portion of this race. Does anyone do that? We'll see here shortly.
Just saw one of the Altena cars on pit road. I think it was Hugo Gallas rejoining the race. He's 5 laps in arrears.
And those doldrum laps, as James Hinchcliffe was quoted in saying, when the body fades, the mind falls behind.
Don't look now, but a cloud has appeared. I don't know if one generated, but the track is quite shady right now. So this is the first glimpse of maybe some cooling on the track that might get some of these cars closer together just in time for that next round of pit stops.
126 degrees on the track temperature, so it has come down from about 130.
Partly cloudy, a welcome reprieve from full sun.
Yeah, we
nice cloud as well.
We don't want full sun here. We want minimal full sun, actually, I think.
Yeah, full cloud cover equals full send, right?
Right.
Which is exactly what we want to be seeing.
Pollard down pit road. Looks like he's in his box up on the jacks, and I think he's the catalyst for, let's see these next round of pit stops here.
Catalyst recognizes Catalyst, and here we go, Nick Pollard in 24 spot on pit road. Long stop. I don't see a black flag.
Dan Inch is coming this time.
Oh, Kostek has a lot of cars stacked up behind him right now. Going into turn 1, he has pretty much the whole field just kind of wondering what's going on here, and I think they're all trying to fuel save off him, not realizing that he's down on power right now.
And they've lost about 5 seconds to Aiden Millward in this process.
Yeah, he's about a second down from everyone else, and here comes Tate Hodson. Yeah, and he gets the spot.
Altena's next. I bet he'll make quick work of Kostek.
Yeah, that seemed like one of those, hey, I caught someone, and I'm going to save some fuel here, not realizing that I'm suddenly 8 miles per hour slower down the straightaway than I should be while saving fuel. So
it's so funny how drivers get tunnel vision like that, right? You maybe start looking at the fuel number and the dash instead of at your lap time. Without having an eye in the sky or a crew chief, it's really hard to keep those things separated because there's not much to really differentiate your lap times when all you see is pavement and rectangle.
Getting busy on the back straight here. We're going 3 wide into turn 3.
Oh, wow. And that was Krause and Brewer as they're battling for position around Dan Inch. Here comes Gary Lovern around Inch. Inch off pit road just trying to come up to speed, and that got dicey. Well, we survived it. Krause, Brewer
saved it off of 4. He took a little bit of curb and almost looped it, but he held on.
Here's Lovern to the inside on Brewer. Brewer, I think, might have just let him go. Move Lovern now up to 11th spot. Liam O'Sullivan, Wagner on pit road, scheduled stop. Sciacco, pit road, scheduled stop. Also, Aiden Millward in the green car, coming off pit road, scheduled stop. So still waiting
Along
for
with Nunez, Forsyth, and Orman, our leaders.
There they are. We were just getting ready to change the camera to them. Orman, Forsyth, Nunez, the leaders coming to pit road. Also, John Christensen on pit road. Patrick Silvazzi on pit road.
Now the question will become, how big is Mark Murphy's lead over Jesper Orman? And I would assume that Jesper probably made up time on Santos and Sinclair. Here comes Murphy barreling into turn 1 as Orman is off the limiter.
Murph got him. Leader now is Tane Hodson. Solwedge is in second now. Julian's behind him. Julian can't quite get the run with those used tires at this moment. Let's see if Hodson comes down pit road this time. I believe he is. Yeah, I heard the tone of his engine change. Solwedge coming. Everybody else behind, including Krause and Altena, coming to pit road.
Forsyth cycled in right behind Santos. He's building a run here into 1. thinks better of doing anything aggressive. I think he might set him up for the backstretch.
Big lap difference between these tires. 17 for Santos, only 1 for Craig. So Craig needs to jump on this now. Otherwise, he's just going to follow Santos until Santos goes to pit road or makes a mistake.
Andrew, I don't know if you've driven the fixed sets here at Indy in weather like this, but off of turn 2 is awful. It feels like the car just plows and plows and plows, and you can't get it right. I saw that exact same thing from Forsyth here, even with this custom fixed setup, which is meant to air some of that handling condition.
Yeah, turn 2 is always kind of one of those difficult turns. I've always had the most difficulty in race dealing with turn 2 because whatever is the banking is like there, or the entry, and that's one corner where you kind of can't really see where the curve begins and ends, so you're kind of guessing every time you go in there, and that's just doing it by yourself in qualifying. So you're following someone, you're trying to go high, but next thing you know, you kind of miss the entry a little bit, the rubber's not really there. But yeah, if you don't get the run done in turn 1, then you might as well just kind of back out for turn 2 and try and figure it out on the north side of the track once you get down there. It's just a very difficult scenario.
Roddy with Craig Forsyth. Runs down Lucas Santos. If you enjoy
that up,
go right ahead.
Say, no, you bring that up, Clendy. Like, I'm watching cars. I'm just kind of cycling through cars coming out of turn 2. The turn 2 looks like a mess kind of for everyone right now, even cars that are kind of following by themselves. And it's just a very difficult corner to eyeball and see exactly how you're getting out of it. And there's a lot of cars that are putting a lot of rubber on that outside turn 2 wall, just kind of scraping it.
Craig has a run down the front stretch, but he lets up going into 1. While we watch this, if you enjoy Velocity Online Racing's coverage of the VOR IndyCar Championship, in respect to
Sinclair's on the wall too.
Here we go, Sinclair.
I manifested that one, didn't I?
Oh, we both did, brother. I told Matty to mind his P's and Q's and take his time this morning when he was the sub driver, and looks like he just bit off a little more than he could chew.
That was behind the car that we were riding with, and just out into the gray, and bada bang. Oh, and Nunez about followed him up into it.
That's that tunnel vision. You see the car in front of you, and you kind of just lock in, and you get in a rhythm. If they mess up, you're very likely to mess up as well.
Yeah, I watched a lot of cars going through turn 2 there for the last lap or so after we started talking about it, not realizing how detrimental it really was and the difficulty these drivers were having going through there. And yeah, next thing you know, I took my eyes off it for a second, and we were watching the leaders come through there. And yeah, unfortunate for Sinclair that he tagged the wall there, and it was pretty much unsavable. And like Gary mentioned, that was almost race ending for Luis Nunez as well.
And just kind of right up into the gray, and then once you get up there, there's nothing you can do but turn the wheel and hope that it doesn't tag the wall. But Matty joins the list of a series of number of drivers in the virtual and real world that have ended their Indy 500 day on the turn 2 wall. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next race. The next race for us is the Iconic Series. It'll be Friday, March 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, as we'll do 175 miles at Legacy Phoenix, or I like to say the proper Phoenix, so you don't want to miss it. But thanks for joining us, everybody, this Saturday afternoon. 56 of 200 in the books. Murphy, O'Sullivan, Orman, Santos, Forsyth, your top 5. As now we're begin looking for this other group of drivers that were on the alternate strategy, which is led by Murph, then O'Sullivan, and then Santos. They should be coming to pit road here because we've been under green for much of this stint. I don't think we've been under any yellow for this stint whatsoever. These guys are probably looking at about 8 to 9 laps before they come to pit road now.
One thing I do want to mention is Murphy is starting to come up to some lap traffic, and we saw how difficult it was to follow cars just battling for position. And now that Murphy's put up to the back of Hugo Gallas here, if he doesn't make quick work of him, Jesper is kind of picking away at that lead a little bit. So in order for the strategy to work for Murphy and for Liam both, they both need to be driving much faster and pull away much quicker than Orman is currently.
Little two sides of that coin. The first is that Murphy has the lead, so the onus is on Jesper to catch and pass him. The second part of that calculus is that Jesper's final stop, if this goes green to the end, which it may, given how strung out the field is, will be much shorter than Murphy's, because his fill will be about half of that of Murphy's, which means his tires will not have to work as hard, moving as much weight around the racetrack. And the next part of this equation is that Gallas is a teammate to Liam O'Sullivan, who's running second. Gallas may not, well, one, he doesn't want to get lapped for his own self-interest, but two, he's being a good team player by, being a little bit of a road bump here for Murph.
Well, we saw how quickly things could change after that Maddie Sinclair wreck there, that something might have changed in terms of cautions should that car have been really playing a part of a caution period. But looks like Hugo might actually be lifting a bit and maybe let Murphy by. We should mention also that Gallas wasn't just a lap down or on the lead lap, he's 4 laps down. So that was really kind of the right move for Gallas to do at that point in time.
Logan Ditweiler in the chat asks if we are doing 200 laps. Yes, sir. All 500 miles today at Indianapolis.
Forsyth still on Santos. Has not pulled the pass off yet, but he's now within 2/10. Reeled him back in a little bit.
And he's lost almost 2.5 seconds to Jesper Orman, being stuck behind Lucas. He was about 1.5 seconds behind Jesper prior to the stops, and now he's about 3.5 behind Jesper. He's got to figure out a way around Santos unless he's using him to save fuel, but it doesn't look like that to me right now.
But saving fuel, but losing pace. Out of the Nunez back in 6th now. Matty Wags in 7th, channeling his inner Jacques Villeneuve. Of course, he needs to go down 2 laps for him to do that properly.
Well, Murphy will make that happen just fine.
Jesper's gained a whole second on Mark Murphy in the last time since we mentioned it. He was 4 seconds back, and he's 3 seconds back now. So is Jesper trying to make a run for Liam, or is he maybe just going to kind of get up to the back of him and save some fuel? It seems like his car is working the best out of the top 5 or so. I believe we're going to see Lucas come down pit road, so I think he's the first car to fight for the Santos, O'Sullivan, Murphy grouping here.
But that A strategy is about out of fuel. Santos will be the first. I'm surprised it wasn't Murph, but I guess maybe Murph may have just thrown it in map 3 and logged some laps.
Santos went to 28 laps on that stint. Kind of a disappointing fuel save on that one. Sounds like he was full burn and for the most part by himself with only 28 laps. But maybe this is a calculated stop. We'll see. Maybe a shorter
Murphy's
fill.
Coming in. Murphy will be in this lap.
Through the north end of the racetrack. Into turn 4, coming off of 4. He will dip down below that white line. And he comes to pit road. Gets down to the speed limit before the cones.
I'm interested to see what kind of strategy Jesper plugs in at this point, because he has such a lead on Craig Forsyth that he could really give up a lot of track position and not really lose too much in terms of fuel either. So he may employ something that turns into a little bit of a map 5, let's lose some time situation. But on the same token, he is fighting.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Liam had dirty air in front of him, and now he had to really roll out of it. And here comes Jesper Orman with a head full of steam down the front stretch. Is Jesper going to take a peek here? Is he going to? Yes, he's going to take a peek right at the start-finish line underneath in turn 1 on Liam, who was trying to make a move on Santos, but I think he picked up the dirty air from his teammate Hugo and about had a moment coming through the north end of the racetrack.
Jesper's got turn 2 dialed in. He hugged the curb on exit. He's going to use Santos's draft to put Liam O'Sullivan back 1 position and chase down these stragglers at the tail end of the lead lap.
Okay, so forget everything I just said. We know exactly what Jesper's plan of attack here is. He's not going to save any fuel. He's going to pull away from Forsyth once all these cars peel off, and he's going to try and cement himself onto whatever strategy he feels is working best for him. There's no need to save fuel. He's going to go for it, and he's going to really try and get some track position back now to even challenge Murphy once the B strategy's pit stop's complete.
That was a pass for the race lead.
My goodness, Liam almost took that turn 2 wall down.
He did.
His tires are starting to show his age, but he's also showing his age, his maturity, learning from his previous mistakes, dialing back just enough to not compound errors today.
He's falling back quite a bit, so he's coming in this lap, I'm sure of it, but I think he may have realized that his fuel dial was a little bit lower than he thought it might be.
30 laps on the nose for O'Sullivan this stint. That will put him coming to pit road just before the halfway point for his next stop if he makes that number again. And again, really, you guys notice as well, it's kind of a race to lap 170. How close to 170 can you get that final stop as Liam O'Sullivan missed his marks, had to back up. That's going to cost him some time coming off of pit road when he gets back on the racetrack.
That might have been because he was so low on fuel. He might have been trying to not sputter into the stall. Just thinking about too much at one time and missed the mark by just a little bit. These brake pads are squishy and soft and not good at slowing these cars down for the pit road boxes. The tires love to lock up. It's so easy to make that mistake.
Yeah, very, very thin discs on these brakes here. And the reason why you don't need a lot of stopping power on a super speedway. Orman not really challenging Santos that much. Santos currently down in the order because he just stopped. He's in 21st, last car on the lead lap. Jesper seems intent to at least be behind him for a little while longer and try to pick up some fuel mileage. Orman is your leader at the moment. Craig Forsyth back behind this battle by 3 seconds is second. Luis Nunez about a second behind Forsyth. Wagner in fourth. Christensen 5th, Silvazzi 6th, Yako in 7th, Aiden in 8th, Tessera in 9th, and Hodson in 10th. Your biggest gainer of the day at the moment is Matthias Kraus, who is in 12th. He's up 17 spots.
Even with Liam O'Sullivan's troubles there, he did manage to come out ahead of Lucas during the pit stop rotation, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
So maybe Lucas had just that much worse of a problem, and this is kind of playing into a different realm of strategy for these guys that are trying a whole different approach to their fuel stops, because Murphy is 6 seconds up the road from these guys that were initially about 3 and 4 seconds behind before.
O'Sullivan trying to get around Molina. Max started in 26th. He's up 7 spots at the moment to 19th.
Shoes on the other foot now for the leaders. Craig Forsyth spent the first part of this run stuck behind Lucas Santos and lost a bunch of time for Jesper Jorman. And now Craig's on the attack while Jesper's stuck behind Lucas Santos.
Comes around, goes around. Literally. And we're all 21 or so laps into their stint for this group of drivers. So coming up to that mark, will we expect to see them come in again for a scheduled stop? Amazing how quick these stints go by. Even though we're talking 41 second laps here. Everyone's kind of turning times in the 41.5s, 41.4s, and 41.6s at the moment.
without yellows, this race can really click by quickly. I mean, these drivers are screaming down the backstretch at 225 miles an hour and barely going below 215 between the corners.
That'll give me an idea. Let's ride with Jesper.
He's not even the fastest car on track right now.
We'll do the Robbie Gordon cam, and we'll put the driver inputs up. There we go. 226 into turn 1. He taps the brake a little bit, feathers the throttle out to the wall on the south end of the racetrack. Caution on the racetrack! Costa Solage.
Big break.
2 cars involved in this one. Matt Brewer is also involved.
Oh, Brewer's done. He's got the whole right side of his car sheared off. He hit Solowich as he bounced back up, just like the previous incident with Pim Van Gastel.
Oh! And Kostik's wreck kind of reminded me of Sebastian Bourdais' qualifying wreck a little bit from 2017-ish. But we'll watch this again. He starts to slide, he catches it, and then when it catches, then it just turns to the inside and it tags the wall, and Brewer had no place to go. We'll watch from Brewer's point of view. Watch how quickly this happens. Watch. Well, Brewer got loose off at corner 1. Oh. Just no place to go. He guessed wrong. Or as the knight in Indiana Jones said, he chose poorly.
And we'll see which drivers here choose poorly on pit road. We may see bifurcating strategies once again and have an A, a B, and a C strategy here shortly.
There you go, Andrew. Word of the day. Bifurcating.
I kind of put my head in my hands for that one. It was not on my bingo card for the day.
We're gonna have to use that one when we get back in the booth for Dark Horse. Bifurcating.
Yeah, I'll make some notes before I can use it next. But my only input, I'll let you guys. My only input here is turn 2. Turn is a problem for these drivers, and it may be a tight in, loose out situation, or it could be just misreading it and falling into the doldrums, as we spoke about before. There's all sorts of things that could play in here, but turn 2 will be a problem for the rest of this race.
And everybody coming down pit road for a scheduled stop. This probably is going to, well, Murph's going to stay out, as we're seeing that right now. So we're not going to sync up strategies yet. Murph staying out, O'Sullivan staying out, Santos staying out. So everybody on that strategy, they're remaining
Still
on
A
it.
and B.
Yeah.
Yep, no C.
And that's not a bad move. That's not a bad move for Santos. If Santos didn't know what he wanted to do in the day, it might be a winning move. Just say, you know what, I'm just going to do what the cars in front of me do. And they stayed out. Yep.
Santos is in this position because he was able to keep Jesper Orman behind him prior to this yellow coming out. Fighting so hard to stay on the tail end of the lead lap has put Lucas Santos firmly in 3rd place now.
And you see Hugo Gallus, the first car behind the pace car. Either he's coming to pit road this time. If he doesn't, and Gallus stopped 31 laps ago, so he probably is going to come by this time. I think all the cars on the lead lap got the first dibs at pit road, and then the cars that are 1 lap or more down will get the second dibs the next time around. He'll dip in here. This will give the lead to Murph. But for some reason, if he doesn't come to pit road, he will get the wave around. But there we see him making the extra turn to pit road. He'll do a scheduled stop. That will turn the lead of the queue over to Murph. As, back in the field's getting a little staggered back there. And Murph is now your leader. So the top 3, again, they're on that other strategy. 12 laps, 9 laps, 13 laps for those drivers currently in the middle of their stints. Everyone behind, starting with Jesper Orman, came to pit road at lap 75. Go ahead.
We do have a driver in the infield care center who was checked and released earlier. We have Matthias Strauss waiting for interview, if appropriate, if you'd like him later.
One thing I quickly want to mention is no one's happier to see this caution right now than Liam O'Sullivan and Lucas Santos, who had those very bad pit stops and fell 6+ seconds behind their fellow strategy comrade Mark Murphy, and they're going to restart right now just right behind him. So any track position or time that they've lost in that rotation now has been negated, and now they're sitting right behind him.
Getting ready to go green. Don't really have time for that interview, but if you're just joining us, Velocity Online Racing's coverage of the VOR IndyCar Championship coming to you from Indianapolis for the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing's 500-mile race presented by ALZ.org. We've now completed 76, coming to 77 laps of the scheduled 200. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next race, which will be our iconic series presentation at Legacy Phoenix on Friday, March 28th at 5 p.m. You won't want to miss it, but another thing you're not going to miss is this restart. Green flag in the air, and Murph is trying to break the draft train already.
A little bit of weaving, but orderly behind.
And as we mentioned before, the first couple of corners with that downforce really kind of makes it a little bit sketchy and something different than these drivers have experienced for the last 50 or so laps. So everyone seems to make it through pretty cleanly through turn 1 and 2. And we got some moves going here, going into turn 3.
Silvazzi around Jaco, moves Silvazzi up to 9th.
He puts his targets on John Christensen just ahead, and then the pro, Luis Nunez. Silvazzi's been working his way up through the field slowly but steadily, up 6 spots so far.
And one thing we have not talked about is the IndyCar Championship points. And I don't have a points graphic. Julian was a little busy leading up to the race, but we all agreed that points really don't matter at Indianapolis. There is Julian taking a peek to the inside of Hodson, and he will get that spot. So Julian now up to 13th, as he's been very patiently trying to work his way up in the field. Conditions have not been very friendly to those caught in the mid-pack today.
Neither have the walls. The walls should show some respect to the competitors. Be a little friendly. Come on.
The current points lead in the series, I'll load that up here real quick. We can talk about that. The last two winners, last two races have both been won by Luis Nunez. So he has come into this race with those in his back pocket, and he has also the points lead coming into this race, 27 points over Julian and Silvazzi in third. So that pass by Silvazzi is doing what he needs to do and stay to keep Nunez in his forward of him at the moment. That's the only way he can keep pace in the standings. Julian really needs to do some more moving and shaking here to hope to salvage this day and get better points out of the finish. That's the situation. Murph is your leader right now. O'Sullivan was reeling him in kind of on the restart, but now as we start getting into these laps, he has fallen behind a little bit on pace. O'Sullivan is second, Santos in third, and then Orman, the first of the cars that pitted, is in fourth.
Just checked on the weather, and it's still pretty hot out there. Nice and toasty. Sun's back out again. No clouds in sight. So back to our regularly scheduled programming here for the most part. And the winds are still coming from the south, so not super windy, but regardless of what the weather conditions are, people are still having a lot of problems with turn 2. I'm watching up and down the field here, and a lot of cars that are really trying to modulate the throttle going through, especially the mid to corner exit. And I'm not sure, we haven't seen the last of maybe some exit oversteer for these guys as they come through turn 2.
To really illustrate that difference, Gary, if you want to watch Jesper's line through turn 2 and compare it to literally anyone else in the field, Jesper's being very diligent to get his left side tires of that road racing machine down on the curbing every time in turn 2.
We'll watch from the Velocity Online Racing 1 airship, and there you see, yeah, get down to the concrete underneath the white line.
That's one thing that can help. That extra difference of banking can help pitch the car through the corner. You just have to slow down and turn in early to get your left sides down below that white line and almost on that concrete. You can't put your whole tire there, but you can kind of get right up to it, kiss it, nuzzle it. It'll help the car rotate.
We'll watch this time by on Jesper. He dives into 1, goes down right to the concrete there in 1. Now he's in the short chute. Here is the entry into 2. Right there. Just about clips it down the backstretch.
And Andrew, have you seen somebody struggling particularly hard in turn 2 that we can kind of compare and contrast against?
Not yet. I'm still watching. I'll keep you posted.
We've got the camera on Craig Forsyth.
Craig's too good to struggle in turn 2.
I was going to say I've just made my way to the Carpenter Racing facility over there. So I'm going to plant myself up on the roof, and I'll get back to you guys.
Well, I mean, we can already see from Forsyth getting into the corners, he is not going below the white line as much as Jesper is. In fact, he didn't even get to the white line that time going through turn 2.
Hey, Echo Seeger is also having a whale of a time through the...
Lovern touches it. Lovern scraped the wall a little bit. I think he's all right. Just kind of tank slapped it a little bit there.
As long as it's flush, you could be okay.
I could tell. I was watching actually this group that's back here in P15 or so, and there's a level of haste when it comes to Matthias and Gary here. They are. I don't think they're very happy with each other. I'm pretty sure Gary is less happy with Matthias than the other way around, but I think Gary tried a different line there, and unfortunately he found himself touching that outside wall in turn 2. And he's up high again here.
If it were a little bit cooler, you could see drivers really start to eat on that high side. They'd make up a bunch of time. They could set up passing opportunities. But just the way these temperatures are, it's just not enough grip up there for these tires.
I think part of that is the marble generation 2 is also going to make that difficult later on in the race should it cool down, because once the marbles start to form up there and you really want to use that second lane, there's not really a lot of usage up there that can be much faster.
Dane Hodson, bit of a lift on the north end of the racetrack last time by.
Wagner hit the wall there out of 2, and I think he's losing some spots. Oh yeah, Wagner took that wall down in turn 2 last time by.
We've got a. There we go. Oh, bam. Oh, bam. Yeah, that was a lick right there.
And it looks like he's got right side pod damage now. So he's going to fall through the field much like Solowetch did earlier.
Yeah, that's an opportunity for the 44 Army. He's currently in 8th. John Christensen. Silvazzi in 9th. Opportunities in front of them as they smell blood in the water.
Just another advantage of having a spotter is if you're not John Christensen, if you're Patrick Silvazzi or Aiden Millward, you have no idea Matt Wagner just took the wall down. You didn't see him. He's too far ahead, or there are too many cars in front of you. I mean, maybe you saw some smoke, but you don't know the extent of the damage until you get close enough to kind of speculate that he's off pace.
And I always tell people, if you're looking for any advantage in sim racing, one of the most it doesn't seem fair, but it's completely fair, is get a spotter, get someone to help you with strategy, get someone that can help you with data translation, just allow you to focus in on the race. And those drivers will have all the information they need, and if they had a spotter in their ear, they'd be like, hey man, Wagner just smacked the wall, reel this guy in, go get him.
I can see that pack that's behind him right now, kind of following the same sort of trend that we saw with Soloway in that last stint. Once those drivers start coming up to him, if that knowledge is not known, they're going to maybe do a fuel save of sorts or kind of see what happens from there. And maybe some of these guys that are at the back of this line here may pick up a spot or two if they know that info.
Coming to lap 90, 10 laps short of the halfway mark. Still a long ways to go here in Indianapolis. 500 miles of scheduled distance for today. Mark Murphy, your leader. He's led multiple times this afternoon on a slightly different fuel strategy. O'Sullivan Santos in the same boat with him. Orman, Forsyth, Nunez, everybody else back to the remainder of the field on the prime strategy. We expect the leaders to come to pit road.
Thank you. You stole the words out of my mouth there, Gary.
Oh, go ahead. You've done the calculation. Go ahead.
No, I was actually I was trying to do the math right there. I think we're gonna see them probably in about 7. No, probably more than that. Maybe about like closer to 101, 102.
I think you could see Murphy as soon as lap 99 here.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. I forgot the caution laps in there.
I think Murphy's probably trying to split this race into perfect little segments, right? I would assume he's trying to aim for lap 100, if not more. Maybe he did a lot of saving under that yellow, but 30 laps ago was, 3 laps from now. So 30 laps is about all you can wring out of these machines without any yellow, but we did have one, so we'll see.
Yeah, I would say...
that's not how he drew it up, right?
No.
That's the thing is, don't pose it like, oh, well, I'm just going to do it this way. Like, I think there's other circumstances that obviously bring you into that mode of thinking. Especially if you really didn't expect there to be long green flag runs. It's very easy to kind of just stay out. But now that you kind of get a little bit of a tenor of how the race goes, then you kind of pick your strategy from there. So I don't dislike what's going on here with these top 3.
If you just go by this general rule of thumb about a stint in these cars, and these cars have been around a while now in the service, we all know that even in clean air, you're looking at about around 30 laps on a stint. They are coming up to 30 laps next time by, so the window for these cars probably then will open at lap 94, and any time after that, we expect them to come to pit road.
Surprisingly, Wagner's kind of holding on with the side pod damage here. He hasn't lost too much time to the car ahead, not as much as Soloway did, and he's able to hold his whole entire line of cars that are following him behind as well. So maybe the damage wasn't so bad, or people are maybe just kind of going to a fuel save mode. They're falling into another round of doldrums of the race where they don't really feel like they're going to gain too much time if they make a pass or not. But it's interesting to see how that pretty decent wall hit was a lot different. I believe we're going to see Santos coming down into the pits this lap, which I feel is very early, but let's see how the 2 ahead of him answer.
31 laps this stint for Santos, who started in 24th position. Coming to his marks.
He only did 28 last time, so this is an improvement, whether it was aided by the yellow or not.
I think you're onto something there, Clendy, because it looks like Murphy's calling in for this time. So remember, Liam stayed out an extra couple laps last time, so I feel like it might be the similar situation this time. But I don't know why you would really push it from here if you're not really going to gain another pit stop down the road. I think you might as well just... Actually, I take that back. Take the clean air as long as you can, because you know you're going to lose it again once you get behind these guys after their stops.
And Jesper goes purple that lap.
I'm of 2 minds on that, Wood. My first inclination is to do the race in 1 fewer stop, which Murph has now given up on, right? From here, you need to go 35, 36 every time to get to the end without having to stop an extra time. Jesper and crew, everyone on the B strategy now, is going to have one fewer stop than Murphy. So he's got to go full push now because he's too far down upstream to correct course. Jesper by O'Sullivan.
Yep, made it look easy.
The Swede with the speed reassumes the lead.
All right, I'm leaving. See ya. I just got slapped in the face twice in the last 45 seconds by Klendy here.
Well, better in the booth than on the track, right?
Absolutely. So I think that I'm digesting what you just told me, and yes, that's definitely a way to think about it. And as we get over the lap 100 mark, it's always better to start thinking about the end of the race, because everybody thinks about the end of the race at different points of the race. For me, I'm not someone who's going to try and do the math backwards around lap 30 or 40 or 50 or something like that, because things always change. No matter how comfortable you think you are, there's always that caution that comes at about 60 to 70% of the way through the race that switches things up. So I think it depends on how comfortable you feel about your pace, your car, your amount of fuel you can save during the stint, and then you can kind of work backwards from there. So I understand what you're saying completely, but I think if it were me, I'd have a whole different outlook on how I'm treating the race. And I really want to start going backwards from the race as we get a little bit closer to the, just past middle part. But for me, what dictates my race is clean air. And I wouldn't fault Liam for going full send right now from the lead in the clean air, because if it were me, I'd be entirely sick of following a car and trying to find little pockets of clean air in every corner. So I would cherish every moment of free air I can get.
We expect Liam in any time. He is now 32 laps into his stint. I think he saved some fuel back there.
Yeah, I think Liam did where Murph decided to push the pedal to the metal and took those clean laps in clean air like Andrew would want to. Liam is doing what I would do, which is back the car up, get to a point where you can go 33, 33, 33, or 32, 33, 33 to the end here, which is a very reasonable fuel save. Murph's number is going to be nigh impossible to hit and go fast, so he's banking on a yellow somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I also neglected to see that Jesper had taken the lead. I remember you saying that he was pushing down the straightaway. So yeah, Liam is back in the dirty air situation. So I still think I would just go a little bit different from those guys that I was following for a while. Here comes Wagner making his stop now, pulling himself out of the Truly train that he formed.
Yeah, this is lap 25 coming to 26 for him, and he went 26 the last time. So is he working a pattern here? Does he think that he's just going to do 26s here from the rest on out and just finish like that? We'll see. He does make a scheduled stop, and they get a chance to look at any damage he might have on the car from smacking the wall on turn 2.
I think any effect that Wagner has of saving fuel at this point is pretty much gone, because he really can't follow anyone that closely without getting some more dirty air effect from the extra aero from the damaged floor. But I also wanted to mention, I thought he sped. He looked like he was way too fast at the cones there. But it looks like he got it down just enough there. Yeah.
And that side pod damage makes it almost impossible to save fuel, just like Andrew said.
Like a big parachute.
Gary, we got a couple trivia questions for you in the chat. The first one is, what is the name of the record-breaking time for the longest Indianapolis 500 ever?
The longest Indianapolis
track?
I would assume it's on the track.
Well, I was gonna say it'd be the 1997 race that spread over like a month.
Yeah, God did not want that race to run for some reason back in 97. I was there for that. Of course, there was 86. I was there for that one too. I'm now really showing my age, where it rained out both days, and they had to actually move Milwaukee on the calendar because then they would race that following weekend. So that That was 86, but the longest race, it's got to be the 2011 race, or 2011, the 1911 race, the very first one with Ray Haroon. I think that's still the slowest average speed to date. I could be wrong. I have to go back and look that up. 1911. Yep, I thought it would be the very first race. Yes.
So it depends on the message
How you
of the
define
question.
longest. Yes, exactly. Is it by slowest race pace or by amount of time from green flag to checkered flag?
How many days does it take to complete 500 miles?
And is there any funny business where like the Speedway will do like a 500K like jogging or walking marathon type thing?
Well, the track is part of the race course when it comes to the during the whole month of May and the festivities leading up to the month of May. There is the Little Five, the mini marathon. The mini marathon, that's what it is. And they do use the track for one lap. They'll enter the track, run around it, and then they all finish at the start-finish line for the mini, as they call it. And so I guess there's that, but I think they're talking auto races, though.
Yeah, I think we should be direct with Indy 500, just being the car race kind of thing. But yeah, apologies for dating yourself there, Gary. I wasn't born yet in 1986, so.
O'Sullivan
Close, but not
has
quite.
made his stop. Sorry if I was way late on that.
And we're watching
3 laps ago.
We're actually watching Wagner right now, but let's get back up front to Jesper, who is now 31 laps into his stint.
One little peek behind the curtains for you at home. Matt Wagner actually updated his pit in sign because he hit the wall. He now calls himself a scrub, and he said the scrub is pitting in.
Don't worry, Wags. We've all been there. Myself, many times at this track.
So there was another trivia question in chat as well.
Yes, I'm waiting for more. Maybe we hold off until the next pit cycle.
Maybe. And this might be going to the inside of the track like that for Orman. That might be notification that he is coming to pit road this time by.
I think we're starting our next pit stop rotation here because I saw, I think it was Aiden and someone else on pit road. Up
Christensen.
on the tracks.
Yep.
Christensen.
And
yeah.
yep, there he is making the turn down pit road. He is going to have a slower car in front of him in the form of Hugo Gallis. Here comes also the pit road. Nunez catches up big time to Forsyth. Forsyth gets it down to the limit. Got a number of cars coming to pit road behind, including Tessera and Altena.
Nunez reeled in about a second there.
Yeah,
on
he
pit
did.
Entry. That
Yeah,
was
he did.
incredible.
That's gonna be a battle coming off pit road. We're gonna watch that.
Craig got in his box a little better, but Nunez went on the jacks first. Nunez rolls, Forsyth rolls. They're going to be side by side coming out of the pit. Nunez has the edge.
Oh, wow, watch this. Somebody's got to give. Let's don't turn it into 96 with Salazar and Lyondike down there.
And they're both going to come out right on the heels of O'Sullivan.
Not a bad stop for both those two, but a great entry and great exit for Nunez. And Nunez now gets the spot on Forsyth, but they're going to be fast together, and with fresh tires, they're going to run down the two in front of them. Santos 13-lap-old tires, 6-lap-old tires for Liam O'Sullivan, so they'll run those two down, and we might have a four-way battle for 6th spot here when this shakes out.
Really, it's going to be second, I think, Gary. Murphy can't make it on fuel in the same number of stops as these drivers, and Jesper's pulling away. So, but Santos, O'Sullivan, Nunez, and Forsyth are all going to be in a four-way slugfest for second.
Kyle Gretsch assumes the lead. He's 35 laps into his stint. He has really saved a lot.
And when Gretsch pits, should he be able to repeat this cycle, he's putting the rest of the field in the danger zone for these cycles, because he'll be the last car to have pit, and he'll be able to go the furthest and leapfrog them all when they pit, or if they pit under yellow.
He's coming to pit road, so he's going to be able to do 36 laps on this stint. Very impressive. But that will turn the lead over to Murph, who is 14 laps deep into his stint already, just turning laps out there. He will pick up the lead. Jesper, only 2 laps since rejoining the race after his last stop, is in 3rd. Santos is in 4th. As we have lap traffic now involved in the battle, that's Nick Pollard separating Lucas Santos from Liam O'Sullivan. And Liam might just send it into 1, and he does.
Careful, Liam. Good job keeping it down on exit. Oh, man, that could have been disastrous.
Both cars making it out of 2 there, and I was worried about the marbles there, but Liam managed to keep himself out of there, but he's losing spots.
I don't think Craig wanted that. Pollard gets back in line and cuts right down in front of Craig, and I don't think Craig was really expecting that. So he's trying to keep up with this pack. He did not want to lift or breathe at all.
I do want to amend one thing, Gary. Santos actually has less fuel than Murphy. There's no way he can make it either. So throw him out of the equation for finishing this race under green on the podium.
Yeah, it's people at home now, when you say that, like, man, we still got 80 laps to go out there. I mean, how can we, more than 80 laps to go, how can we determine if, if we go green the whole way, yeah, you're right. It's eventually going to shake out that Santos is going to have to stop and give up track position towards the end of the race for a splash and dash.
So my thinking on this topic is that there's only one lap of the race that matters, and it's the last lap. That's the one I'm counting to from lap 0, from the very beginning. I might overload myself sometimes and give myself too many strategies to think about, but I always want to put myself on the best possible strategy at whatever point of the race it is. I'm always looking to the future, not to the present. Another question from the chat, Gary. Which car number has the most Indy 500 wins?
Car number has the most Indy 500 wins.
I'm out of this one. I have no idea.
I don't know. Let me think about this one for a bit. I think Rick Mears had a different number for every win. AJ only had 14 for 3 of his 4 wins. Same thing for Castro Neves. He had 3 different numbers for 4 of his wins. Kyle Gretsch goes purple that time by 219.9. Al Luntzer, I think, only had the same number a handful of times, too. I'm going to go with the number, let's think here. I don't really look it up and putting much research into it. I'm going to go with the number 1 because for a lot of reasons, the national champion always had a lot of luck at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And back in the USAC days, typically the national champion always came in with the number 1. I'm going to go with 1. I could be wrong.
Logan Detweiler claims that it's the 3 car, which has won 11 Indy 500s.
Well, it would have won. It would have won with. I think it would definitely would have won one with Mears, and probably won a couple with Newgarden. Wouldn't Newgarden run into 3, or is he running into 2?
I do not know, but I do know that the 1 car today is fast and is tracking down our leader, Mark Murphy.
Yeah, that is our defending series champion.
Quick weather check for you guys. A cloud has come over the track, so we might expect that some of these lap times may begin to plummet as we go into the just past halfway stage of this race.
120 degrees. Yep, 120 degrees, and that's the lowest we've seen it all day long, really. Oh, Kyle Gretsch, I think maybe kissed the wall on the north end of the racetrack.
I think Jesper almost just did as well on the south end of the racetrack coming out of 2. Very, very close for Jesper there.
Again, we are in the middle portion of this race where we're just doing, you know, lap after lap, kind of getting to the next pit stop, and the mind wanders. When the mind wanders, we lose focus and concentration, and that's when the walls come up and quickly come to greet us.
Yeah, if he does it again, I'm hopping in the team channel telling him to lock in. Now let's see if Murphy plays nice. Jesper's now at the point where he can tow up to Murphy on the straightaways, but Murphy can try to take the best line. I mean, he's going to wrap the white, but Jesper's been going lower than anyone else on the south end of the speedway. We'll see if Murphy tries to take that from him.
I think you still want to try and minimize distance as best you can, so I wouldn't see Jesper really deviating much from that.
Take a tour of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here as we're now on the south end of the racetrack going opposite 16th Street. Now we're in turn 2 going opposite the Riley's Children's Hospital suites there. Part of the old hotel that used to be here for the Brickyard Hotel. Down the back stretch, it separates 2 halves of the Brickyard Crossing golf course, or the public golf course you can go golf at when you visit Indianapolis. Now with the north end of the racetrack going along into turn 4, right up opposite the Coke lot, the Coca-Cola bottler. Now we're going opposite Georgetown Road down the front straights, hitting the yard of bricks right there. If you've ever been to the Speedway when the cars hit the yard of bricks, excuse me, it really does sound like a gunshot going off. That's when they hit that pop. Back into turn 2. And then
it doesn't matter what car. Like
no,
NASCAR Cup cars,
always
Indy cars,
pops.
Indy lights,
always pops. Yep. And into turn 3, right behind turn 3, you see those trees just off to the left of turn 3. That is a residential neighborhood, and somebody has a tree house built up in those trees, and that's where they watch the race from. Back down the front straight, opposite Georgetown Road. Now, Georgetown and 16th Street used to intersect right here behind turn 1. It no longer does anymore, but that is where the business offices are for the Speedway.
Coke lot is where you'll find yours truly, Andrew Wood, camping during Indy 500 weekend for the last 10 years. So that's where I will be posted this time around as well.
A lot of debauchery goes on there in the Coke lot the night before the 500.
Allegedly. We won't speak of it. But that's pretty much where you'll see yours truly camped out for the weekend. Then.
Well, I will be making my first trip to the Speedway in May this year. So I may pay you a visit, Mr. Wood.
You're more than welcome to.
There is someone that typically
one waiting.
There's typically someone that every year camps out in parks in the Coke lot, and they build a tiki bar, and it seems to be a bit of a hangout every year. Whoever builds that.
That's where they have the famed bowling tournament that they have every Saturday, the day before the race. Not one to throw a football very well. I've tried and I've given up. So
that's why we race cars. That's why we race
right.
cars and not play stick and ball sports, right?
That's absolutely right. I tried my hand at stick and ball sports myself, and quickly realized that racing was probably better suited for my skills.
And also this, a crossover. That is a tunnel that goes underneath the racetrack right there on the south end of the racetrack, right in the short chute. That leads to the infield and leads you right to the Hall of Fame Museum, which is opening up after 2 years of renovations and redesign this May, I believe. Might even open up next month. So you got to check that out. My understanding is the old Hall of Fame Museum, albeit interesting, was very much stuck in the 70s, if you ever went to the old place. This new one is supposed to be a whole interactive experience, so I'm looking very forward to that. Typically, it's open all year long. Go ahead.
Santos has come in for his next pit stop,
and
we're 77 laps from the end, so interested to see what kind of strategy Lucas does from here. I think he's kind of up a creek.
Yeah, he is. You're right.
Hoping for that late race caution.
Down and away.
And as we see some of these guys that are falling 5-6 seconds behind the leader, it might be possible that Murph might come out somewhere nearby where Lucas rejoins the track again. As we said, Murph is now pitted.
Scheduled stop at 1:24. Murph went 28 laps on that stint, and that's kind of what happens when you're out there by yourself and you don't have a chance to get behind somebody and draft to save a little bit of fuel. You come in less than that 30-lap mark. That
Speaking of draft, look what's happening on the back straightaway right now. Jasper's found himself there.
Trying to find out who it is.
Down and ride right behind Lucas Santos on those fresh tires. Say, hey, buddy, you go set the fastest laps you can, and I'll just get trailed along.
This will work for a lap or so, but if Murph rejoins right near where Lucas is, I think he may find himself in trouble. Jesper, that is. If he has to kind of play the dirty air game again.
Murph should be well ahead of
Yeah, he's popped out already. He's on the middle of the back stretch, coming up at the speed, and he doesn't have a soul around him. 7-2 up to Aiden in front of him, 5-7 back to Santos behind him. He is all alone, as alone can be on Indianapolis Motor Speedway during a 500-mile race. So our leader now is Orman. Nunez in second, O'Sullivan third. Forsyth fourth. Silvazzi has worked his way up to fifth. He's up 10 spots. Hodson up 11 spots to 10th. Kraus up 18 to 11th.
I'm really interested to see if O'Sullivan can make this fuel save work. He's going to be very, very close. And at the end of the race, when everyone else, oh, he's in the wall out of 2. I think he got away with it, but O'Sullivan will be so much slower on the last stop if he chooses to stretch the fuel here.
Oof. Yep.
He might just get freight trained, trying to limp home in 5th map, or map 5, when everyone else will be map 3 or map 1, running really quick times.
Lap 128 of 200.
One thing worth mentioning is that Lucas is definitely riding that lower curve that we were talking about that Jesper was running before. So I'm not sure if he picked up on something there or if he managed to find a better line that goes through there, but that's allowing him to get that better arc through turn 2, where that might steal some of the air away from Jesper. As that's the line that he's been running this whole time, and it may pay off for Lucas here.
Let's go back and ride with Jesper again. We were riding with him while we were kind of giving you the tour of the racetrack, and we could see how that's impacting Jesper. Yeah, he's not able to quite get as low into the corner, at least that time in 2, with Santos in front of him, and Santos going down that low.
You always feel like you have a little bit of an advantage doing that line because no one else is brave enough to go down there, but we now see what happens when someone kind of picks up exactly what the car behind is doing or the car in front is doing and say, okay, let me try that and see if that works. And next thing you know, you kind of lose out a little bit.
I think Logan's hitting us with another trivia question. First woman to lead the 500. What year was it? And she led for the very first time. Okay, and what place did she finish? I think that's Danica. I think that's 2005. I think that's 2005. And I think she finished third. Because I think Vitor Mira passed her late in the race. He got second. And Weldon won the race. I was at that one. And I will say, I mean, everyone can give Danica Patrick all the crap in the world for being a mediocre race car driver or whatever. But I will say, the buzz in the stands when she took the lead and was leading for those handful of laps is probably one of the biggest buzzes I've felt in the stands ever at the 500. And I've attended many. And when she was leading, there was a definite buzz. Wagner on pit road. And it was along the same lines, the same type of buzz I felt as you got closer to Castro Neves winning that 4th. and those laps ticked down. There was definite buzz in the crowd when he was getting closer and closer to that win. So you could say what you want about Danica, you know, but there was buzz in the crowd. The crowd was feeling it that day.
How big was the buzz when Marco Andretti almost won his very first rookie Indy 500?
I tell you what, the buzz really started with Michael leading that restart and thinking that you're in the stands for a real shot at Michael Andretti winning here late in the race. And then when Marco took over, the buzz was still there. And I remember when he passed us, we were sitting in turn 4, and he was coming to the white flag, and Hornish wasn't quite there yet. But I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, you're actually going to watch an Andretti take a checkered flag here at Indianapolis. And you really saw Hornish reel him in on that lap. And I remember as they passed us and going through turn 4, I remember turning to my wife thinking, I think this is going to be a lot closer than it looks. And Hornish stuck in and got the win there. The only other thing I really remember from that particular race, and there was a buzz there, it was just how incredibly hot it was that day. It was so hot that day. Max Molina, purple lap that time, 220.1.
Unfortunately, turn 2 has collected another victim, Timothy Bry. A couple laps ago, smacked that wall and went to the inside and towed it. So turn 2 has collected another victim there. Unfortunate for that.
Trying to get the camera on him and can't find
He is towed, so.
Yeah, it happened 3 laps ago now.
Here we go. We'll get the driver inputs off, and oh yeah, and he kissed the wall, and it was more of the impact to the inside wall is kind of what got him, and he just wisely pulls it to the grass and tows. Unfortunately, but Tim had
another car on the wall.
Who?
Let me go back. I missed it. I just caught a quick glimpse. It looks like it was Kyle Greck.
Oh, yeah, we were...
He continues on.
We were talking about... Oh, yeah, wow. He's trying to get around... that's Molina. Just got dirty air. Liam O'Sullivan on pit road. Yeah, we'll make sure we're back to live TV here.
I think Liam's put himself in a position where the save to stop one more time is attainable, but difficult. Basically, he's got to go 34 and 33 to finish this race out.
Yeah, and Liam went 33 that time. Here is Orman. Sorry, the leader. Again, just staying behind Santos and saving fuel, making that mileage.
Yeah, Nunez isn't catching up, right? So Jesper feels no pressure at all to go fast right now. He's keeping the rest of the pack at an arm's length, and that's all he needs to do.
Nunez, your points leader, winner of the last 2 races on the schedule. Might just be content to run this thing out in P2 and bring it home safely and get a good chunk of points out of this event here at Indianapolis before we go to our next race on the schedule. And that is a good time to segue to the next race on the schedule graphic. There we go. Nashville Superspeedway. It doesn't get any easier, guys. We're going to Nashville here in a couple weeks. Then we're going to Long Beach for our final road course of the season. And then we'll wrap up the season at Homestead, Miami, and Auto Club. Auto Club for another 500-miler. We'll wrap that season up here at the start of May.
You think if I ask Julian really nicely, he'll let me race in the finale again?
Well, you need to ask Andrew nicely if he can replace you in the booth.
I can't even hold a candle to Andrew's skills. I mean, he's better than me in the booth. Julian would love to have him.
Oh, all right. I don't know where this clout randomly comes from, but I'll take it. I just want to say I really do appreciate O'Sullivan's attempt at this fuel save, but I'm seeing more and more guys get collected in this turn 2 wall, and I really do not understand how this thing goes green towards the end. I really hope it does, and I'm sure for the
Nunez.
Wags and Christensen side by side, yeah.
More of these cars are falling into the doldrums, as we mentioned before. That the laps just tick away, and now you're thinking about what do I want for dinner, and what am I doing tomorrow, and what errands do I need to complete later, and next thing you know, there's the wall. Going back to our our Warriors for Peace race that we watched here on P1 Broadcasting. It's very easy to see how the wall can just kind of jump out on you out of nowhere, and next thing you know, a caution's out, and then everything gets thrown out the window. So I would like to see this thing go green for the rest of the way, but I'm not really sure if that'll happen or not.
Remember,
Nunez had a bit of a slow stop. He's getting lapped here by Orman.
35.2 on pit road, 9.4 in the box. Orman on by him. And again, as Hinch said, and the quote from Hinch definitely rings true, when the body fades, the mind falls behind. And then we're starting to see that with a number of drivers just making these laps. I call them the dog day laps, the middle of a 500-mile race, and nothing's going on. All you're doing is focusing, trying to get to that next pit stop, which is starting right now for our leader, Jesper Orman. And just trying not to make any mistakes, and still, your mistakes can still happen. He's on pit road. He's down to the limit. That's one mistake averted. Now he needs to get down to his box and hit his marks.
I'm wondering if Wagner has called it a day. He's been in his box for over a minute now.
Very easily on his marks for Jesper, up on the pneumatic jacks. New set of tires. Full tank of fuel, down and away. Okay, he averted missing the marks. Now he averts speeding on pit road again, gets on the button, and now the hard part of bringing cold tires up the temperature on this very flat access road. And here comes Murphy. Murphy gets around him. But it's still not going to matter. I think Murphy still has a stop at extra time. But he's going to weave it on the backstretch to try to break the draft for Orman. Kraus is your leader now. Kraus up 28 spots. He is 32 laps into his stint.
It was very easy to see that Jesper was pushing it on that pit exit. He was sideways through most of the access road to turn 2 there, really just maximizing every bit of weight jacker or anything he's putting into that car that really gets it going, but it wasn't enough to hold off holding on to that lead.
Oof.
I think he just wants to get in Murphy's wake, right? Get to the point where he can eliminate that second between them, because that's the easiest second he's going to put on his competitors all day. He knows Murphy's going to pull in the pits, and he's going to break the wind for him here on his penultimate stint.
Kraus on pit road. There he is, making his stop. He still has at least another stop to go. Murphy picks up the lead now. There he is. Orman second. Santos moves up to third. Orman hits a purple lap, 220.3 that time by. Nunez fourth. Liam O'Sullivan now fifth. So Nunez has jumped O'Sullivan. That battle is actually still pretty close.
Oh, Kraus is right behind Nick Pollard on the pit exit road. They almost banged wings, rear and front.
I see trouble coming for Murphy down the road. He's catching up to 3 very slow cars that are just now coming down the back straightaway as he's coming out of turn 2. So it'd be interesting to see how Jesper plays this one.
Yeah, those cars are about 8 seconds in front of him. That's Inch, Millward, and Gretsch. I've been neglecting to do this for our for our race sponsor, but the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing's 500-mile race from Indianapolis was presented by the Alzheimer's Association at ALZ.org. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia by accelerating global research driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. But they can't end Alzheimer's without your help. To learn more and to donate, go to alz.org. A link is in the description. And we want to thank them and Dan Ench for being the presenting sponsor of this 500-mile race, the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing Indy 500 here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you like what you see and would like to be part of future races of the VOR IndyCar Championship, you can click on the VOR Discord invite in the description. You can learn more today in the server. Here comes Jesper to the inside for the lead of the 500. He passes Mark. Mark tucks in behind. What's the plan?
Murphy might be trying to extend this stop just so that way he puts himself in a less precarious position at the end of the race. He cannot make it to the end on fuel on the same number of stops as Orman, but he can position his last stop to gamble on there being a caution late in the race. That might get him home.
My knee-jerk reaction to what you said was, what does he do? Not hit the turn 2 wall, which he successfully did there.
Mission accomplished. If you can avoid that turn 2 safer barrier, you did something right today.
He was quite high on the entry to 2 there, and I'm like, please just hold on to it and don't hit any marbles and give us less things to talk about here.
Step 1, do not hit wall in turn 2. Step 2.
Don't get dirty air.
Yeah, don't get dirty air. He's using the draft to keep himself close, but you can definitely tell that the older tires he's currently sporting at the moment, 22 lap old tires at that, are not a caution on the racetrack.
I knew it.
Tane Hodson, the guy that has been up and down the order all day today, missing a rear wing in turn 2. Let's see what happened.
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh,
actually. Contact
with the 44 and Gary Lovern. How they don't have damage on their car, I don't know. But here we're going to see Tane. He gets a run on the 44. This is John Christensen. So the 44 Army might be a little upset. They go side by side. And he just kind of comes up and didn't. Well, I don't know how clear he was.
I think Julian has a lag switch in here for his team cars, saying, oh, no, they can't get damaged like that. I'm joking.
Here's a better shot.
I believe the reason for that is Hodson went into turn 1 much faster than he probably predicted he was going to, and as he's turning, he says, uh-oh, my car is not going to respond well to this. Unfortunately, there's a car to the outside, and they were always going to meet at the exit there. So kind of unfortunate, and this is kind of one of those brain fade moments that we talked about in terms of going through this race and not really realizing that there's much to worry about. And then next thing you know, oh no, I'm entering turn 1 too fast and I can't do anything about it. And there's a car there. Oh no, I got to figure out a way out of this. And next thing you know, it's a multi-car incident.
Now Gary Lovern missed that one too. Great hands. Great hands.
Leaders stay out on the racetrack for the sole exception of Mark Murphy. Pretty lonely drive there down pit road.
As we see drivers getting the wave around for, I think we do have a lucky dog for this race. That is that Yako? No, I'm not sure who's getting the wave around there. Nick Pollard. Nick Pollard getting the wave around. There he is. So an attrition is starting to eat into this field as well. 21 cars. Actually, I think we're down to 19 cars as we're showing Molina still on pit road with a lengthy stop. Wagner still on pit road with a lengthy stop. Hodson's probably going to retire. We'll see what snaps back into place on his car. So a very typical... Lately, it seems like the Indy 500s, the attrition has not been high in terms of real Indy 500s. I think a lot of that has to do with the talent of the drivers and also that how much these engineers work on these cars and the engines in terms of their reliability. It wouldn't be abnormal back in the 70s and 80s to have as few as 10 cars finish the race just because of how unreliable the engineering kind of was back in those days. But nowadays, engineering is becoming a lot more bulletproof. These cars and these engines can certainly go 500 miles very easily. Jesper Orman, the leader, Nunez in second. They stayed out. They did not come to pit road. Everyone who pitted on this caution at lap 149 is Murphy, Santos, Forsyth. They're leading that next group of drivers. Everyone that stayed out for this caution is from first down to seventh. That's Orman, Nunez, O'Sullivan. Julian stays out, gets massive track position. He is now in the top 5 for the first time today. Lovern missing that wreck. He has now navigated himself to the top 5. Kraus in 6th and Teixeira in 7th. Your big gainers of this group right here, 23 spots for Kraus, as he is now in 6th spot. He started in 29th.
And a new player sniffing the lead, Luis Nunez. We'll see how aggressive he will be on this initial restart, capping off a 50-lap sprint to the finish. He's been at the front all day, but never had an opportunity to take the lead, so we'll see what Luis does here.
Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go green this time. Luis is our points leader. He has won the last 2 races on the calendar. Looking to go 3 in a row and extend his points lead, but not before our defending series champion, Jesper Orman, has anything to say about that.
Quick weather check before we get going. Clouds are still out. Track is cooling.
116. Reed flag in the air. Here we go again. It is Orman, Nunez, O'Sullivan, Altena, and Lovern. Your top 5 all into one. Here we go.
Nunez is building a run. Let's see if turn 2 will stymie it, or if he'll be able to power through and catch up to Orman.
And we're coming
Really
off of
masterful job.
Yeah, we're coming off of turn 4. The way that we restarted this race, it's still Orman, Nunez, O'Sullivan, Altena, and Lovern, the top 5. In terms of stint-wise, what are we looking at for stints? 11 laps for Orman, 13 for Nunez, 17 for O'Sullivan, 13 for Altena, 12 for Lovern. So they are probably going to come to pit road. Well, let's say Jesper, for instance. Probably another 20 laps.
Yeah, I'd assume
that'll be a good final stop.
Who
Yeah.
didn't just pit will probably come in around lap 175 and try to go 25 home. You might see some people try to stretch that and pit as soon as the window is open to get clean air and maybe try to put the rest of the field in the danger zone if you're within 7 seconds of the leader.
Yeah, the magic number for sure is 170. If you get to 170, you're getting home pretty easily.
Let's not forget that Mark Murphy pit under that caution, and he's been our front runner all day, and he's made his way back up to 8th place for now. But if a yellow comes out in between the times that the leaders all peel off, and he assumes the lead, he kind of drives exactly what the strategy is going to be as we go into the last stint.
Salvazzi and Forsyth side by side through 3 and 4. Salvazzi slides up in front of Forsyth, gets the position, moves Salvazzi into the top 10. Forsyth says, not so fast, my friend. He goes to the inside in the 1. And I think that high line might be able to hold on to that position, and it does, and he slams the door on Forsyth going into 2.
And it did because Santos is in front of them, and he ran the bottom. If he had ran the top, Salvazzi would have had the wash, and Forsyth would have powered through.
Altena Auto Sports cars in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Remember, they swept the podium yesterday in our Iconic Series race at Kansas. Julian had that win, followed by John Christensen and then Liam.
Murphy needs to go here, and he seems to be kind of stalled out where he is right now. He keeps finding the nice line on the bottom, but on the exit, for some reason, he just can't get that run that gets him up. It looks like he
might get a run this time onto Sarah. Let's see.
I would try a high entry here and then cut low on exit. Let's see what Murphy does.
It was high, but just not high enough.
And a bunch of dirty air to boot.
Kind of hurt that Tessera had the same idea to try to offset from Kraus in front. But it's such a lose-lose situation if you're Murphy. If you cut to the bottom early, you just eat all the wash on apex when they drive down in front of you. And then you're slow on the middle and on exit instead of just one or the other.
All this is doing is hurting Murphy's brand new tires when you compare the tire light to the cars up ahead. And eventually it's going to equalize to a point where Murphy can't do anything from there.
Will be a little bit advantaged at the final stop just because he'll need to take less fuel to get to the finish as anyone else. So he'll be the lightest at the end, and he'll have the least worn tires for the final sprint to the finish.
And I believe I was talking to Julian before this race started, and he had mentioned that the track temp is expected to really kind of plummet in the last 50 or so laps. So we've had enough cautions where if we had gone green from the beginning, we probably would have been closer to the finish right now, but those cautions have kind of slowed the race pace down a bit. So if we have another caution, for example, it could be even colder as we get towards the end of this race. We're getting into the late afternoon session here where the sun angle is going to start to dissipate a little bit, and it may get a little bit cooler as the race goes on.
Yeah, you start seeing the shadows of the grandstands creep over the turn one, onto the turn one racing line a little bit now here soon.
I think Murray's going to try and do a run here. I think he's going to pull to the inside. Oh, that was very close.
And there's a car behind him also passing for position. Salvazzi gets around Santos, and I think Santos, his right rear smacked the wall.
Quick hands kept the nose out of the wall. Good job from Santos there to keep it straight.
Now Forsyth. Forsyth smells blood in the water. He's going to try to get on this battle to get a position, move him up in the 10th.
It sounded better in my head. I probably shouldn't have said it.
There's Dan Inch on the inside of Seigers, gets the position. That's a battle for 15th. Oh, Nick Pollard. Oh! Trying to get around Yako. Had a good run, but he got to the attenuator and the spot to pass at the wrong point. So he had to adjust his line a little bit and almost meant smacking the wall.
So what lap are we looking at for the leaders to come down there, Klendy? Have you done the math?
Well, so it's not so much a fuel save, it's when you want to push your luck. The longer you go, the more time you'll be in the danger zone, but the better your tires will be at the end, and the less fuel you'll need to take on pit road. I'd assume most of the leaders, Orman, Nunez, and O'Sullivan will need to come sooner before them. But I think Orman's going to look probably like around lap 177, 178 if he can manage it with that yellow. But O'Sullivan will probably be coming here in the next 5 laps or so.
Oh, that reminds me of that old 80s game, Press Your Luck, with the whammies. No whammies, no whammies, stop. Well, let's see if the whammy appears here and pulls the win right out from one of these drivers, right out from underneath him.
Nunez has closed the gap to Orman. They are much closer than we've seen the leaders all day.
I imagine we're going to see someone come in right on the full fuel mark of 28, 29 laps or so. So I think 171 will be a number a couple of drivers at least are looking at.
Yeah,
they want to get it done and over with.
30 to go in these races at this track. Typically, it involves the what we call the Nick DeGroot stop. You can pretty much bank on a race if you're racing with Nick DeGroot, the motorsport journalist here, and he also races in the iRacing IndyCar community. Pretty much set your watch to it. Anytime in Indianapolis, 30 laps to go, Nick is coming in for that final pit stop. So does anyone follow the DeGroot strategy? We'll see in about 8 laps from now.
Considering how Tenna and O'Sullivan are teammates, and O'Sullivan will have to stop for fuel first. They may come together and then try to swap to build a gap or eat time away from the leaders who are on track not cooperating.
I'm with you there. I agree with that strategy, Clendy. I think I'm not going to differ from that line of thinking. Just go with someone you know you could trust, and then if you need to save a little bit of fuel, then that car just kind of sticks behind and goes into a higher fuel map and still gets the draft without any penalty at all.
Oh, Julian high exit off of 3. Back in, gets a little squirrely in the short chute, but he gets it back underneath him.
This is Little Tyke's wheel, Gary.
Oh, Forsyth might take a shot on Santos down the front straight. He is there. He goes to the inside at the yard of bricks. Into one side by side. The Canadian gets Santos. He does. Holds him off. Moves Santos up to 10th.
At this point, unfortunately, Mark Murphy can't make any more progress. He's, in fact, losing more time to the Altana Autosports cars, as it were, up ahead. And I think he's just reserving himself to saving whatever tire he can at this point.
Because he will get some laps of coveted clean air once the cars in front of him choose to pull off for fuel. Gary Lovern will probably, or Kraus will get to go the longest of them, which is the next car on the chopping block for Murphy. I think it'd be important for him to get by Kraus if he can, but just the way things are lined up right now, it might be difficult to soldier past.
I'm sure at this point, Lovern is just pleased to have gotten out of that incident that was that was right in front of him. So he'll do whatever his teammates say at this point. Pull him with me? Sure thing, boss. I'll be right there.
Watch his whole life flash before his eyes in the virtual sense, yes. Oh, Julian loose off of 4.
It's the Kidder Tyke wheel! Fisher Price. I don't know why I said Kidder Tyke. Little Tyke.
Little Tykes.
Yeah, Little Tykes. What a great save by the...
He won with the wheel yesterday. And he back it up with a 500-mile win at Indianapolis. We're watching him tick off these. Yeah, we're just kind of just getting silent here. We know that nothing's going to happen really unless someone bangs down a wall between now and 170. But 170, we kind of know the window's going to open up for final stops. Once again, want to thank ALZ.org, the Alzheimer Association, for presenting this race, being a sponsor. And once again, if you like what you see here, want to be a participant in the VOR IndyCar Championship, make sure to click on the Discord link invite in the description. You can learn more there.
I guess now's the time I could plug my thoughts at this point in the race during our Lionheart Indy 500 a couple of years ago, Gary, where I was leading and I pretty much had the fuel save set, but I had to save just like a few more corners of fuel in order to do my last pit stop and make the end of the race. I was trying to outfox Matt Taylor there, and I managed to save just enough fuel to go full burn on the last stint, and that was such a wild feeling, and knowing that, oh no, I gotta come down to the pit lane, take one more set of tires, and somehow do 30 more laps here without hitting the wall. And it's such a good feeling, but an anxious feeling at the same time. And I'm sure some of these guys are watching that last 30 laps saying, okay, I just got one more full fuel stint left in the bag here in order to pull out whatever position I have. And it's such an odd feeling, but a good feeling at the same time.
Christensen around Forsyth for 10th. Millward and Santos battling out right behind them.
Getting close to that number. So who's going to be the first car to come in 171, 172?
Liam. Liam O'Sullivan coming to lap
There it is.
170. He is going to bite first. Also coming, Kyle Gretsch.
I believe we had predicted O'Sullivan to come in around the 167 mark, so he's done a good job to save even that little bit more fuel, and I think he might be good to the end here, as long as he predicts that it's going to be in such a way that he could just get behind the car and maybe go for a last couple lap to go last there.
The full fill might hurt Liam more than he wants. It's going to be about a 1 1/3 second penalty over the cars that are going to stretch, 2 to 4 more laps here.
Plus, if you want to save the fuel, you want to save it right off the bat. And as Liam comes out of the pits here, he has no one around to help him right now. So unfortunately, he's going to have to run that full map 1 full fuel setting there. Otherwise, if he goes into a fuel save right away, he's just not going to have anyone at all for the next 30 laps.
Now, one thing not simulated in the sim, I don't think, is your fuel fill speed at the end of the race, since these are gravity-fed tanks. These would be final stops for a lot of these teams in the real 500, and the teams only get enough fuel to complete the race. They don't get a drop more. So when the tank's dry, there is no place for them to go get more fuel and to top off the tank in the pits. This is what we're talking about, the tank in the pits. So that is a gravity-fed tank. It's not under pressure. There's nothing pushing it. There's not a pump on it. There's nothing pushing or pulling that fuel out. And so in the final stops of a race sometimes are very slow because you're waiting for that fuel, because all you have is good old Newton's gravity pulling that down the pipe to get to the tank.
Orman, Altena, Sarah are all in this time. Let's see if Nunez follows as well, and let's see if he makes up time like he did on Forsyth. What
here we go. Yes, he does.
Nunez.
Oh, wow. Now he's in a position, and I don't know how this is going to affect pit penalties or anything, but you're supposed to be in the full left lane, but he can't get to the full left lane because there's a car there. I wonder if there's going to be a penalty involved post-race.
Those aren't time penalties.
Wow.
Those are just penalty points that are applied.
Yeah,
that affect
penalty
his
points.
future starting position. I think it's worth it to try to win here at Indy.
Here we go.
Jesper's going to beat him out of the box. Way to go, Orman.
It was a valiant effort by Nunez. He almost outfoxed Orman just like he did Forsyth on that previous stop, but I think there was a little bit of awkwardness as Orman was coming into his box that Nunez said, okay, I'm not going to try and hit you or anything, so I might have just thrown his rhythm off of trying to stop for the box, so that might have made the difference.
Here's Liam getting a run on Julian. He'll pick up that spot. He still has a full head of steam. Nunez and Orman still coming up to speed, but they're about at full speed now. He needs to try to reel him in a little bit more.
Not too far behind them on the speedway is Mark Murphy. If he can get around Kraus, he'll be able to eat into the draft of Marcos Teixeira up there, who's on a different strategy, and that's just time he can gain on the rest of the field.
Expecting Kraus anytime on pit road. He went 33 his previous stint. He's at 32 this stint. This will be his final stop. Then we wait for Murph. Murph went 24 and stint 5. He's currently in stint 6 at 26 laps. Same thing for... no, Forsyth just stopped. Forsyth just stopped right there. He's 1 lap under his new stint, final stint.
I think one thing, if I were Murphy, if I had someone up on the pit box watching, I'd be watching lap times, because yeah, he can pit whenever he wants, but if he's losing too much time to the other drivers that he's battling, he's not going to get any benefit really of coming in. Yes, he might have a shorter pit stop because he has less fuel to take, but if you're hemorrhaging 2 tenths here, 2 tenths here, 3 tenths here, next thing you know, all that time advantage that you once had is now gone. So Murphy's got to be very careful now and be watching lap times and make sure he's not losing time in dirty air behind Kraus here.
Kraus might be coming to pit road this time. Either that, he was following the car in front of him to get the draft. We'll see if that was the little bit of a twitch down the backstretch. Sam coming in. Nope, he's going to bypass pit road. 1 more lap, starting 177 of 200. Teixeira on pit road. Or actually, Teixeira still on the racetrack. He's getting by Santos, who's coming off of pit road.
Last time by, Murphy ran a 2, and Jesper's coming around turn 4 right now, so we can see if there's any big difference there in time. Jesper's got clean air. Murphy's following a car, so we'll see. Murphy had a 2 last time. Let's see what Jesper does this time by. He did a 3, so Murphy's actually going a little faster right now, a tenth. But that's what I was mentioning before, is if you're 2 or 3 tenths slower, then you're in trouble. But I think Murphy's put himself in a good spot here, and now he's got clean air, and he can decide whenever he wants to pit, whenever he feels the time is right, it's good to go. But Klendy was mentioning before the danger zone that if a caution were to come out now and the field packs up, all that track position's gone. So I don't think Murphy's going to wait too long here. I'm sure he'll pit within the next 5 laps or so.
And remember, it will be a shorter fill for Murph. Well, he'll get a chance to put some Red Bull laps down here late in the race. That's fresh tires and light tanks.
And at this point, if you're leading and you know you're going to come out ahead of some of the guys you were following, it really doesn't benefit you to stay out long, because all you're doing is risking a longer period of time where a caution could come out and then ruin everything. So if he pits now, he might come out close to the lead. Right now, Jesper and all them are about 30 seconds behind. That's not enough. I think he'll come out probably 33 or 34 seconds is your delta there on a full tank.
I have him coming out right with Julian Altena if he pits right now.
But that's on a full tank, I believe. And if we're going to knock a second or 2 off, it might be a little bit further up than that. But he has to be inch perfect coming in and coming out.
Aiden with the run on Santos. Santos might be damaged. He's given up a spot to Gretsch. Now to the inside. Whoa, that was really close. Good thing Netco didn't take over. And a narrow version of disaster in turn 1 between Santos and Millward. Millward's going to have to line them back up and try to get another shot at this.
But when you see stuff like this on the track, pit now. Do not put yourself in a possibility where you might be stuck with a caution. And as drivers get more desperate as the laps go on, the probability of that does go up.
Silvazzi around Lovern. Oh, Lovern in the wall! Oh, Mark!
He's got it.
Mark
goes
misses
Murph.
him.
He's lucky that he missed it, and he's lucky there's no yellow. It's all coming up aces for Murphy.
I don't think we're going to go caution.
Oh, there it is!
Caution, there
No!
it is! Oh!
We flipped a king, Murph. We busted.
And Yakko has decided to pit. So that's going to be...
Jaco Seeger he's going to be behind the leaders. They're all filtering by right now, but where he comes out of pit road is where he'll be on track. He'll be 5th, I think?
Well, I think he entered out to the car. He was braking for the pit lane when the yellow came out, so that's going to be it for Yakko.
Now, we'll go back and take a look at what happened with Gary Lovern. And a number of times, we've seen this all throughout the history in Indianapolis. 2 cars going into turn 1 side by side, and 1 car comes out of it. A little bit of net code involved there, but
I think Savasi could have done a little more to get underneath.
Jaco was
on the entry.
Jaco was on pit road when the yellow came out. He had committed. He's going to retain his spot. He did not enter a closed pit.
It was very close. I thought he had entered it, but yep, it looks like you may have gotten that run right there, Clenny.
Whoa! And check out Murphy on the replay here in the in-car. I mean, it happens in front of his, almost outside of his view. Now he sees the car, and the car's coming off the wall. And much like a Jay Howard situation with when Dixon got in that accident in 2017, he sliced his car in half. He missed it. But in very much the same way, Jay Howard hit the turn 1 wall, bounced off it, and he lost his steering, and then he came down in the middle of the track, and in this case, no one was there to launch off him. Murph coming down to his stall for his final stop.
I watched Dixon fly through the air, and that was pretty much all I needed to see for Indy. I could have wiped my hands clean and said, okay, I've seen enough.
I've seen it all. I've seen a couple of wrecks where cars got airborne at Indianapolis.
I think the funny part of that story actually is my friends and I were sitting in turn one watching the race. The race seemed to be kind of unfolding into that doldrum territory I spoke much about, and my friend said, hey, I want to go get myself a tenderloin. Went down to the tenderloin thing, and I said, nah, I'll stay up here. I'm not really feeling that hungry. And next thing you know, a car goes flying by me, and my friends heard the smack when they were down at the stand right below the grandstands there in turn one, and they came back up and said, what happened? And I said, well, let me tell you about what happened. I thought someone may not extricate themselves from a car alive, but he did, thankfully. So we avoided one there for sure.
All right, coming to green here. They shortened the yellow up.
No fuel concerns. 17 to go when we cross the start-finish line, and we'll have to see how this plays out.
Green flag, green flag.
And they are aggressively running each other down. They know the opportunities of the pass, and Liam O'Sullivan goes outside wide on Nunez. He's going to give him a full send on the outside. Nunez is going to fade up and block him a little bit to hold on to that second spot. But in the meanwhile, Nunez is going to get a run on Orman down the backstretch. He's going to stay to the outside, and Orman protects the inside.
O'Sullivan can go 3 here.
We're going to go 3 wide. And O'Sullivan to the top, but he cannot keep the momentum up. We're still 3 wide. And Orman somehow comes out on top on all that.
Gary is speechless. My goodness.
O'Sullivan's not done. He's going to try it again, coming into 1. Nunez blocks him off. Orman keeps the bottom.
No clean air for anyone following that pair there. That was insane running from turn 3 through 4 there. Orman keeps it going, but I don't think it's over yet.
If you're familiar with fighting games, there's a concept called conditioning.
Savazzi getting around Julian. They go side by side off the corner. He tried to clear him, but he couldn't quite clear him. Now we got a battle for the lead. Nunez, Orman. Nunez get a wheel there. He's got a wing there. He's got a whole car there on the outside of 1. It's just not the line.
That bottom line is the most prominent.
What Nunez is doing is conditioning. He's showing Orman, I'm going to go to the outside every time. He's going to hope that Orman opens up the bottom, and Nunez is going to try to take the bottom when Jesper least expects it.
I think you want the clean air ASAP.
There it is!
Exactly what Nunez did there was what I was thinking he was going to do.
Oh, into the wall, and that is a hard lick, and I'm sure there's damage there. He gives up the position. Now is he going to give another position to Liam O'Sullivan?
That's exactly. I was thinking Nunez might wait a little bit for that move, but that's the exact move that I think Klendy was alluding to, saying I'm going to go high, but then when you least expect it, I'm going to the bottom. But we didn't expect that to happen, so I think that was done to perfection there.
I think Jesper got away with that.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with the car. I think it was just a slight tap, and I think Orman, he has a slight wrinkle in the floor, but nothing that's concerning. It's very similar to Wagner's situation, where I think it's good enough to keep battling.
Here we go, side by side. We're gonna go 3 wide. He's gonna go. O'Sullivan's gonna go to the inside. Thought against it.
Orman pinches Nunez down. He's got the run through the short chute. Let's see if he can navigate tricky turn 2.
Well, I think that some of that crinkle in the floor may lead to some more downforce, and if you're running that high side, that may actually be something that's beneficial to you, but he needs some sort of draft to keep it going, and here comes O'Sullivan.
Your tops
temperatures are cooling down a bit too, so this
Yep.
might actually turn into a little bit more of a side-by-side situation that we didn't really see early on in the race, just as Julian had intended.
Top 6, you can throw them under a blanket. It's Nunez, Orman side by side in the 1, O'Sullivan 3rd, Altena 4th. Altena is just giving a little extra room. He's going to watch something happen in front of him, maybe pick up a spot, maybe pick up a potential win here. Altena 4th, Salvazzi, he's worked his way up to 5th very quietly, and Murph in 6th. Here we go down the backstretch. Nunez going to stay to the inside, protect going in the 1, weaves out a little high to give himself an arc into 3. He's still your leader into 3 with Orman behind him, and not as close as he is, but still could get a run here as O'Sullivan down the front stretch.
I think that the south side of the track is much better to follow on the outside than the north side of the track. Turn 1 and 2, you can really run that outside line and kind of pinch as necessary, but you can only do it on turn 1 and 2, and Jesper has come very close every time to getting next to him.
And this is the south end of the racetrack. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway sets north, south, east, west exactly. So now we're going north. We're heading to the north end of the racetrack, and we're on the east side of the racetrack. Now we're on the north side of the racetrack. And when we go down the front stretch, we're going parallel the west side of the racetrack. Oh, and I think Nunez tried to lead Orman up to the wall, and Orman didn't take it.
At this point, if you're racing with any of that side pod damage, you're just really, really hoping that there's a little bit of a hiccup going side by side through 1 and 2. If he misses the bottom or something like that, and you could just really hold on, and then down the back straightaway here, you just need draft. Jesper needs draft right now. Anything to overcome that speed loss, and I think he might have something here, but watch, I believe Nunez might have the line going through 3 here. I think you have to do the side-by-side going to turn 1.
He Brazilian clears himself there in the short chute, staying down low into 3 and 4. Down the front stretch one more time, going to the inside to protect. Here's Liam O'Sullivan. He's recovered. He's going to stay right there at the bottom. He was thinking about sending it, but it decided against it. Tucks back in behind the 2 leaders. We're now back in the 1 and 2 into the short chute.
I think Jesper's just waiting to pull a pinch off in turn 3. I think he's seeing how close he can get in 1 and 2 where it's easy, and he's going to do it to Nunez in 3 and 4 when he least expects it. Show him what he learned.
I think one of the things that Jesper should do is back off a little bit going down the back straightaway and see where exactly Luis is turning up the track a little bit to do the same exact move like Klendy said to him. He could try the outside of 1 and see if Luis slips up, but I think his best plan of attack here is just kind of hang back and see where at what point in the back straightaway he comes up, and then Jesper can strike again.
Gentlemen, look who's up to 5th. It's Mark Murphy on the freshest tires, hounding Julian Altena, trying to say, hey, boys, did you forget about me? I've led the most laps today.
Julian
I want to win
to
this
the wall.
thing.
Nunez and Orman down to the apron off of 2. That looks very similar to kind of what Newgarden did. Side by side, Murph to the inside of Altena. And I think there was a car that hit the back, the turn 2 wall exit and is now out. I think that might have been Nick Pollard. I'm not sure. Side by side down the front stretch, it is Nunez. Murph side by side with Altena in the 1.
I think Jesper at this point might realize that his turn 1 options are done. So now he's going to readjust and he's going to try and, okay, he's still doing it on the back straightaway there. I think Jesper is really focusing on the north side of the track right now and trying to see where he can get underneath, because the best way to get by someone is to have the bottom line in his turn 3. So turn 1's not working. He can't upset him there. Turn 2 is kind of not really working out either, but I think he's going to try and see if he can get underneath Luis in turn 3.
That was a race to the checkers. It was a dead heat. Those 2 yellow cars were separated by millimeters at the yard of bricks.
The season started off with Julian winning at Texas. Patrick Salvazzi won at Watkins Glen. Jesper won at Milwaukee. Luis Nunez won the last 2 races to vault him to the top of the points. He won at Iowa and won at Montreal. Can he win 3 in a row in his first Indy 500 here in the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Championship? He's your leader coming off of 4, coming to 5 to go. Jesper Orman takes a peek on the outside, going at the yard of bricks side by side, going into 1, nose to nose, tail to tail, into the south end of the racetrack, into the short chute. Nunez protecting the low side into 2 in front of the sweets, down the backstretch one more time. Orman pops it out on the high side into 3. He's going to hold it there, try to pinch Nunez down through 3. Nunez holds it into the south end of the north end of the racetrack. Now into turn 4, down the front straightaway, looking at a 10-mile run to the finish. 4 laps to go. It's a qualifying run to decide the winner at the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Championship with the Indy 500 presented by ALZ.org. We're into 2 already. 3.5 laps to go.
Orman's had the edge at the line the last few times. If he keeps racing like this, he doesn't mind being second because he knows how to snipe Nunez at the yard of bricks.
Jesper is running side by side through 3. He's getting closer and closer every time, but that's not the place you need to be. I think Nunez is reacting to where Jesper is popping up on the back straightaway to come up. But I think if Jesper can trick him into going up earlier and then snipe down underneath and do the same exact move, I think that's the ticket to win this race.
Don't forget about O'Sullivan. He's waiting in the wings. If they make contact, he'll convert from the pole. And Mark Murphy on the alternate strategy's got the freshest tires of them all, lurking in 4th.
And I think that O'Sullivan's just saying, please wreck in front of me. And as long as he stays on the low side, it's good. Because I think at this point he realizes he can't get up there to battle them. But I think he's ready. And it's going to pick up at the last 2 laps here. The intensity between these 2 cars, it's been very much orchestrated for the last 5 or so laps. It's not going to be the same way as we come to 2 to go.
These are real pros in these cars. Luis Nunez was in the Pro Series. He had the pro license here on the service. He is a pro-level driver on this sim. Jesper doesn't have the pro-level driver's license, but he has hundreds, and I mean hundreds of starts in this car. He knows what he's doing. Right behind him, same thing with O'Sullivan. Building up a career, he has many starts in this car. And then Murphy, same way, hundreds of starts in this car. We got 4 real veterans fighting it out at the top here for the win for the Indy 500, coming to the white flag. Side by side of the 1. Nobody's lifting this time. Nobody's lifting. Still protecting the low side, Nunez. Orman only has an attack on the high side. Best thing he could do is get back in line and try for the draft down the backstretch for the final time. 5/8 of a mile before we get to turn 3. He pops out. He's going to be wheel to wheel, even and turn 3, side by side. We're through 2 turns to go. Now 1 turn to go. Last time through the short chute. Here we come. He's going to set him up for the finish. Nunez with the lead coming off of 4. Here comes Jesper Orman. Do we have a sitting duck for the win? Orman on the outside. I can't tell. No, he does not. And Nunez gets the win by a nose.
It's unfortunate that Jesper had that floor damage because I don't think he had enough of a draft and a pulling out of the draft advantage to get to the line there. And I don't know, I expected Orman to really kind of hang out on the outside down the back straightaway and try and push Nunez up a little bit and scare him a bit. And I think that's the only bit of chance that he had really to take that spot back.
And here is the final results. Nunez, your winner by 0.022 of a second over Jesper Orman. Liam O'Sullivan, not a bad drive to recover from how his race literally started in lap 1, turn 1, to where it ended up at lap 200. It is night and day difference. Right behind the leaders by less than a half a second. Murphy on that other strategy wheels his car up to 4th. He finishes in the 4th position ahead of Julian Altena in 5th. Julian had a very quiet day, but brought his car and piled his car to where it needed to be at the end. Gave him a chance to win. in there in 5th. Salvazi in 6th. That's going to help him in the points. Tessera 7th, Inch 8th, Seegers in 9th, and Christensen, the 44 Army. Your boy gets a top 10. Krause, Forsyth, Millward, Santos, Gretcher, top 15. Gallas, Pollard, Lovern, Hodson, and Wagner, your top 20. Molina, Bree, Solwedge, Brewer, Sinclair, your top 25. Weber, Pim, Van Gastel, Yellen, Rizza, Mitchum, your top 30. And Kinder and Strauss round out the remainder of this 32-car field. Whew. Everyone recovered?
No, I'm out of breath, Gary.
Yeah, speechless. It's always fun watching the last few laps of the Indy 500, no matter what the resulting finish is.
We've got Liam when you're ready, Gary.
Stand by. All right. And we will go ahead and bring Liam on up in here. Not a bad weekend at all for Liam. 2 podiums, one in the Iconic Series and one here at the Indy 500, the 13th running of the Indy 500, that is, for the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Championship. But first things first, Liam, your race really did not start off on a good foot. Right off the bat, turn 1, lap 1. Contact, and you're already having to dive to the pits to get things looked at. Talk about your race from where it started there to the point where you ended up here with a shot possibly to win. Maybe not the tires, maybe just didn't have the conditions that weren't conducive to it, but you did everything you needed to do to bring your car to put it in a position to win, but it didn't start off on a great foot.
Yeah, I mean, that's very rookie of me. Like, we had a new start procedure where the whole front row went on green, which as the leader, I mean, it kind of sets you on the back foot a bit on the start because everyone knows when you're going to go. So I wasn't overly impressed with that. But then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter on the rule. I entered low, too little negative weight jacker on the thing. And then I slid up, managed to save it. But then obviously Mason has to react. And then that's what put me into Matthias. And then out of the two of them, I was the lucky one to survive, probably undeservedly. I accept responsibility for that one. It's not good enough for me to, especially of my experience, to do that. But I saved it, tried to salvage what we could, came back and had a good day.
We'll go ahead and ask Clindy and Andrew if you have any questions. Clindy, you first. Andrew, if you have any questions, go ahead and follow up with Clindy.
Yeah, we saw a lot of drivers struggling with conditions and some struggling with fuel economy. It looked like you were able to stretch the tank a little further than everyone else. What type of tips do you have for the other drivers or anyone at home watching to navigate a hot track like this, go fast and save gas all at the same time?
So just for some context, when you run green around here flat, you're looking about 2.3 miles per lap in litres. I was having to do for half that race about 1.9 in map 5. So I was on purpose having to let people to go to make that work. I'm kind of surprised Mark and Lucas didn't try and that they just went kind of flat out, so it left me in a bit of no man's land. But I was the way I was looking at it is, well, I'm P3. I was in a safe P3 before them last 2 cautions came out, and because I would have had 33 laps to go at the end, which would have been makeable. but the caution just gave me a chance. I had my chance into. The issue is when they're both running too wide in front of you, you kind of have nowhere to go unless you try and sneak your nose in up the inside. But my view was I've kind of caused enough chaos already in lap 1 that I think settling for P3 might be a wise decision.
Well, you still got to show off a hero move going top of 3 into turn 3. That sure was impressive. Sorry you couldn't get around those 2 in front of you. Andrew, do you have anything for our 3rd place finisher today?
I was just curious, what exact strategy did you want to take forward after your lap 1 incident there? Were you kind of maybe trying to do a fuel save of sorts and then see what happens later? Or did you kind of employ that, hey, I'm going to go on the Mark Murphy strategy and just do something different, and so I can be in a smaller group that may be able to take advantage later on in the race?
He trademarked it, the Mark Murphy strategy. Now, I had 45 litres, so I had over half a tank left in the thing. And obviously I'm at the back, so it was kind of a no-brainer to stay out. Not really a thing I tend to do, but I was in such an unorthodox position that it was my only chance of getting back up there with it being so hard to pass as usual. But yeah, that was my main aim, and it was the only way for me to get back into that race, which, again, kind of like yesterday where I came back at Kansas, I just scrappy races Friday and Saturday that I've kind of got away with and got podiums out of. But overall, getting pole, the win in the DW12s at Indy, and a 3rd here, but winning the race last season at Indy. I mean, it's not a bad record for this track, and it'll be good for the championship.
Shout outs, friends, family, sponsors, my friend. You earned the right to give them, so go right ahead.
Yeah, Mum, Dad, watching, staying in for the long haul of that one. Grandparents watching, making sure I made sure that it wasn't over on lap 1 with trying to save it. Yeah, and obviously the team. I mean, Julian right there at the end and Gary were clutch to making sure that I wasn't going to lose any more positions, trying to maximize the amount of the tank to get that to about lap 170 so I could have a shot at the win there if anything happened, which between Jesper and Lewis, I mean, you never know. But yeah, and again, just massive apology to Mason, Matthias. It's on me. Just that small snap on the bottom has gone and ruined 2 races, which isn't exactly how I drive or have never tend to get involved in them things. So not ideal for them in the biggest race that they can't drop, that I've gone and kind of ruined their races. But I mean, it's my fault and I accept the blame for it.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations on the P3. The schedule kind of goes back to normal a little bit. We're going to Nashville next. I don't think the points have been updated, but we don't really know where you stand. But you got yourself in a position to keep it close here in the closing stages of the season. So we know that you're going to give it every lap and every shot you got to try to get this championship. So we'll be watching you. But congratulations on the P3, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks when we go to Nashville.
Yep, thanks, guys, as always.
Got someone in chat giving me grief about not reading the Alzheimer, or saying I forgot the sponsor when it was an Alzheimer sponsor. Hey, man, you do this job. You do this job. We do our best. We're semi-pros at best. I'm not even a pro. What am I talking about? Andrew Wood reminds me I'm not a pro at doing this all the time.
No comment.
Pros on the racetrack, amateurs in the booth.
Amateurs in the booth. Let's get our next person in here, Jesper, and we will ask him how much damage it was actually there. Jesper, when we're joining us in the booth, P2 today. Really a dominant day. You led much of the day, or was among the leaders all day. But in the closing stages, you smacked the wall pretty good, and we were hypothesizing possible damage there. Was there damage, and was that holding you back, or was it just more of a thing is that because the field was kind of shrunk up there and brought together by the late caution, it just really gave Nunez the juice he needed to keep things close and to kind of have a running battle there at the end. What was it from your point of view?
It was definitely damaged. I couldn't keep up on a straight line with him after that, but it was of my own making. I have no one else but myself to blame. I was dominating the race. I think I won it like 3 or 4 times. One point I was leading by 12 seconds, and like I was good on fuel. And then, well, cautions is part of the game. I just flubbed it up. And Lewis is a great young driver and can't afford to do that.
Clindy, and then Andrew, if you guys have any follow-ups.
Well, Jesper, I could tell you were racing with your heart there at the end of the race, trying to claw back with a damaged car. Can you put into perspective how hard it is to do everything you can with a car that just doesn't have the pace that it once had? I know that at Rogue Racing, we don't have the fastest cars yet, but we definitely have the fastest driver. What do you do to elevate your game to stick side by side with a pro like Luis Nunez?
I mean, I had to watch my mirrors as well because Liam was kind of quite fast behind me. I didn't want to give up the position to him. So, well, I knew that, okay, I could stay side by side with Louise on the front stretch for a couple laps. And then maybe on the last lap, if I could back up maybe a couple of feet, tried to do that. But yeah, it didn't help. So it's just too hard to pull off. And to be fair, the guy gave me all the room that I needed and I gave him room. So fair play to him.
Do you feel like that little bit of floor damage you took on there when you lost the lead may have had some sort of impact on your straight line speed in order to get that move done? Or did you actually kind of predict in the last 10 laps or so where you can actually make that move to get that lead back again?
I'm pretty sure I was down on power because at one point I was on the backstretch side by side with him, and then he all of a sudden just gained speed on me. So I was definitely down maybe 1 or 2 miles per hour. But look, I hit the wall and I still finished P2. So it's just annoying because he's obviously in the championship lead. And now he's going to run away with it and there's nothing we can do basically. And also I'm chasing that all-time record win streak. I haven't won a single race this season. So this season is clearly cursed.
Oh, you got Milwaukee. You won Milwaukee this season.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Right,
like
yeah.
he's so focused on the
Right.
day. He's like, screw it. I don't remember what I did a month ago. But shout out to the friends, family, sponsors. I mean, I know you're not happy, but you at least earned an opportunity to go ahead and shout them out. So go right ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I got a new paint scheme this week. Really like it. It's my man Clendy has been painting that like the Da Vinci he is. No, I really like it. And it's so cool to see that all of us, we have the same kind of, baseline livery. It looks awesome, whatever colors you put on them. So yeah, really, really excited to see what we can do here coming up to the month of May.
Well, no win today, but the month of, like I said at the beginning of the show, the month of May kind of for all of us on the service kind of starts now with all these leagues that we're in. We're starting to see Indy on the schedule more and more for those of us that drive the IR18 or the DW12. You're still the all-time wins leader here in the league. You got that edge now with your win at Milwaukee a couple weeks ago. Still a lot of things to look up and forward to. P2 today. Despite leading 89 laps. Congratulations, but we'll catch you next week, or 2 weeks actually, when we go to Nashville, which I know you'll be refreshed with a lot more vigor then.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast and everything. 200 laps. That's a lot. I'm gonna watch back.
You got it, man. Congrats.
We'll definitely see that the best looking car to finish P2 ever at Indy was his. So upon watching that back, I hope.
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting my director is in my other ear here asking for a special interview, so we will go ahead and do that. And we have
Dan?
He's asking that we bring up Dan to talk about ALZ.org for sponsoring the broadcast. So, or sponsoring the race. So we'll go ahead and if he's here already, there he is, Dan Inch. Dan, welcome to the booth. We're going to have you talk about ALZ.org and the Alzheimer's Association here in a second. But real quick, talk about your race. Top 10 today, finished 8th. Not too bad.
Yeah, quiet. I'm trying to watch the last 10 laps, man. It was really something to see. You should have seen it.
Well, nice way to
a great race.
Nice way to get your car that with the main sponsor there up into the top 10. How was your race? And then let's talk about your sponsor.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2 scary spots. The first one, 8 laps into the race, I got that big old packet loss sign and everybody disappeared. And fortunately, it wasn't as I crossed the start-finish line, so I didn't lose a lap, and it only lasted like a second maybe, and I was good to go from there. But boy, that'll scare the dog out of you when that happens. And the other moment was when I exited improperly and had to take a drive-through and found myself a lap down. And I thought, well, as long as I keep in that lucky dog position, thank goodness we don't follow IndyCar rules. You know what I mean? And I did eventually get it back, and then I could go racing from there. And I'll tell you what, everybody was about the same. You know, it was a tough. I liked the setup because it was more difficult than usual. It wasn't just stand on it and go. You had to figure out where your lift points were and when to hit the gas again and everything. And I like cars like that. It's more realistic in my mind. And I was able to take advantage of that and work my way up, even past somebody during that last green flag run to the finish there. So I had a good time today. I had a wonderful time, and I'll take an 8th place at Indy any day of the week.
Go ahead and talk about the Alzheimer's Association and how you brought them to us and sponsorship of this race and how people should learn more about the Alzheimer's Association.
Well, yeah, and you know why I'm in on this. I wear her name on the side of my ramp. It's my mom, and she suffers from Alzheimer's, and that's what got me interested in it. And over the years, I've learned more and more about it, and it's just amazing some of the statistics you run into. And I won't bore you with all that today, but I will say that we're a long way from a cure. They come up with newer and better trials every year, and it just always seems to fall short. They need research dollars, and if you can, go to alz.org, alz.org, and check them out, see what they're up to. If you're a caregiver, if you've newly acquired an Alzheimer's patient in your care and you don't quite know how to handle it, which, by the way, don't feel alone. I can't tell you how many times it literally drove me to pounding my fist on the railing out in the yard because I didn't know what to do, and it was hurting me so bad to see my mom the way she was. So you need care too. If you're a caregiver, you need care. alz.org. Go to it. Alzheimer's Association is there for you. But more importantly, please, donations. We need donations to keep that research going.
Well, Dan, thanks for the awareness. Hope people listen to him here. alz.org. Make your donation today. You can learn more at that website. But a big P8 here for you today. Congratulations. Everyone is happy and proud of you. And we will catch you at the next race. But thanks for bringing us alz.org, and also having them be the presenting sponsor of this race.
Yeah. Wrap it up. I got to get back to the race and listen to those guys call the end of the race. That was some kind of excitement in their voices there.
Take care, Dan.
See ya.
All right, that is our sponsor of today's race. But let's bring up the winner here, Luis Nunez. Here he is. Luis Nunez, winner of today's 500-mile race, the 13th running here of the VOR Indy 500. Congratulations. Picked up the lead there late in the race and then had a big shootout with Jesper, but was able to hold him off there at the end with a little bit better straight line speed. Talk about your race, though. You really didn't get a chance to lead until the late stages. All you did really do is keep your car in contention, and sometimes that's half the battle right there.
Yeah, I was just aiming for maybe top 5 here, like just trying to extend a bit the championship lead. And yeah, there was a moment where I saw myself just behind Jesper, and we just had one pit more. So I was all right. We save a little bit, and I will try to pass him in after the pit stop. I want to say I did a mistake because I've put too much fuel, but anyways, it worked. And yeah, after the pit, I realized it was flat out the whole time, right? Because until that point, it was like you had to leave, you had to brake, and yeah, I said, all right, if I stay around the outside the whole time, I'm not passing him never. So yeah, I tried to just switch in the last moment and get inside. And yeah, after that, I just covered the inside like crazy. And I also want to say I had a terrible time because I was nervous as fuck, but it was good enough.
Any follow-up questions for Clendy and Andrew?
Yeah, Lewis, we saw you beat everyone senseless coming to pit road today. You gained seconds on the field. You got by Forsyth that way. You drew even with Orman on that last stop. What's your secret to getting down to pit road speed so quickly?
Skidding to a stop, it looks like.
Just taking risk and having big balls, I would say. Like, yeah, it's work this time, but maybe all the time I just spin out. But yeah, it's about, I don't know, confidence. I always felt really good in this car in the brakings, also in road tracks. So I applied this one here.
Yeah, Luis, so where did you feel like you actually had a clear shot to go forward in this race? Because you spent a lot of this race sitting in the dirty air amongst all the drivers that were ahead of you in the field and everything like that. But there must have been some point in this race where you say, oh, wow, I actually have a shot to get up to the lead here. So was it in that last stint, or were you kind of holding back at all in the middle part of the race that you didn't really understand if you can actually get past those guys that were ahead of you? And talk through where your mindset was at the beginning, the middle, and the end part of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I was just pretty much saving fuel and tires as I was just sticking to the inside all the time. And yeah, it was being really difficult to pass. So I was just trying to save and pass the other guys later on the run. And one of the pit stops, I did a mistake. And I went a bit wide. And I think I lost like a spot with, I think that was, wow, I don't remember now, but I lost a spot. And yeah, I said, all right, I want to apply this technique. Like, this strategy. I want to save tires and pass people later. And yeah, I could pass Craig, also Liam, and then yeah, after the last pit stop is what I said. I did realize that I have a shot to win this race, but yeah, it was pretty unexpected, to be honest.
So you felt like that during the first part of the race, your best shot was to get by people in the pit lane and not really so much on the track where you can battle them and kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, it was mostly to pretty much pass them at the end of the scene because I had better tires and I feel I could push a bit more. And yeah, one of the scenes I tried to do like an overcut, right, instead of an undercut, because I feel like that extra lap in the outside, because you have less fuel, it's faster. So, but yeah, it didn't really work because I messed up by a few liters. I think it was like 0.2 liters. So I mean, I don't even know how I won this. I mean, it's completely unexpected.
Before we let you get your shout outs in, we got the points updated. You are the points leader. You have a full race lead, actually, now in the points. You have a 68-point lead over Julian, who is in second, 294 to 226. Liam is in third. Patrick Silvazzi is in fourth, and he's in a tie with fourth with Jesper. Both those guys have 204 points. Then John Christensen, the 44 Army. You guys will know that your guy is in 6 spots in the championship with 157 points, 10 points over Craig Forsyth in 7th. Murphy in 8th, Aiden Millward in 9th, and Tessera in 10th. That is your top 10 going into the next race in Vegas. Any shout-outs, friends, family, sponsors you want to say hi to? I know the guys at Fiercely Forward are going to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, especially them, and also the guys I coach, Nick Pollard and the guys at Major's Garage. And yeah, that's all. That was a good race. So I can say.
Well, winner of now the last 3 races in a row, our points leader and now Indy 500 champion, Luis Nunez. Congratulations on the big win, and we'll see you in a couple weeks when we get back to the regular part of the schedule when we resume in Nashville.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for everything. See ya.
All right, gentlemen, you guys made this race much easier to call for me. Always thinking on a level that I'm never thinking on. You guys have been great. Final thoughts here before from Indianapolis before we move on to the remainder of the season and schedule when we go to Nashville next. Starting with you, Klendy, and then we'll wrap up with Andrew. But your final thoughts here in Indianapolis, and then next week or 2 weeks, then we go to Nashville.
I think Julian should change the time of this event so that way we get the cooler temperatures about halfway rather than with 10 to go. I think that would make for a more compelling and more interesting race. And will reward drivers who still did a good job surviving and maintaining and earning track position through the first half of the race to be able to go out and race like we saw those last 10 laps, which were an absolute treat. I think that type of racing is the type of racing race fans at home deserve, but the drivers on the track also need to have the opportunity to set themselves apart. So hopefully in the 14th running, we'll have a little more on-track action for the entirety of the race and a little less strategy. So that way Andrew and I can put our brains on cruise control instead of having to keep crunching the numbers on the calculator.
You're saving me the trouble. Thank you, guys. Andrew, final thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for letting me come up here. It's kind of this is my first time calling with 2 other people, so I didn't really know what it would be like kind of sharing you could always have a back and forth sort of camaraderie, but to do it with 3 people and for us to not step on each other as much as we did is definitely a treat for sure. I'm still getting my footing in all of this commentating stuff, but I really enjoy doing this and to have you guys there with me and kind of just have some fun along the way too. I hope that the viewers enjoyed it, and I definitely enjoyed it. So here's to many more. I'm looking forward to the next time I could be in the booth with either of you guys.
Maybe next season. We'll see. We'll have to see how
And
that
of
works
course,
out.
I should say I'll talk about the race too. I just talked about you guys. I'm just kind of like pampering the the channel here. No, it was definitely a fun race to watch. I sort of agree with Klendy there about getting a little bit more side-by-side racing in earlier. But it was one of those wait and see moments, and we wait and we saw, and we got quite the finish that I don't think really any of us were expecting would happen, especially if we were kind of expecting these hotter temperatures to last throughout the race. But it definitely kind of it showed its face there at the end of the race there. So good job to all those guys that finished, that hung in there and did everything that they could to get to the end, and we were definitely treated there at the end.
Yes, the final 10 laps, it was definitely a tongue twister for me. It left me speechless a couple times because I don't know what to call because it was so exciting out there. But that was a great finish. Hats off to all the 32 drivers that started this race that decided to take time out of their Saturdays to participate with this fun with us, and then everybody that finished and everybody finished on the lead lap, got through the 500 miles. Kudos to you. That's an additional victory. That always is the other half of the battle is, first you have to finish first you must finish 500 miles, even finishing a little bit further in the pack is no joke. So again, congrats to everybody there. I had the schedule up on the screen. Hope everyone got a good look at it next week. Our next race for us is in 2 weeks at Nashville, where it doesn't get any easier for these guys, frankly, because the Nashville Superspeedway is not an easy track by any stretch of the imagination. Well, that's going to do it for today. Let's get on out of here. Give everyone back their Saturdays. That's it for today. Once again, your podium for the 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing's 500-mile race presented by ALZ.org from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Your winner, Luis Nunez, getting his first win here at the big crown jewel in the series, is your winner. Jesper Orman second. Liam O'Sullivan is third. Join us again on Saturday, March 29th, as the IndyCar Championship goes to It's well, let's just say the regular part of the season. There's always all the races, and then there's Indianapolis, and then there's all the other races. And so Indianapolis is kind of that special race in the middle of the season, but we get back to the regular part of the season as we now move on to Nashville and Nashville Superspeedway for the next round. But remember, the time has changed. Because here in the United States, we have gone through the time change. This is a European-based league, so coverage for Nashville will start at approximately 4 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that's 4:00 p.m. Eastern. And remember, for the correct broadcast time in your area, find everything you need right here at YouTube at youtube.com, and just search Velocity Online Racing. Now, as you know, the YouTube algorithm game is not an easy one, so please help support us with a weekly grind. Leave a comment below to let us know your thought of today's race. If you enjoyed today's coverage, support us by smashing like in the video. If you're new, click subscribe, and while you're at it, hit the bell for weekly reminders so don't miss out on more Velocity, all other online racing action, including action from our iconic series. That'll be two Fridays from now as we go to Nashville. Actually, we are going to where are we going for the iconic series? I should be better prepared than this. See, again, we're semi-pros. We're amateurs at this. We're going to Legacy Phoenix. That's right, the proper Phoenix.
The proper Phoenix,
The
as
proper
Godsoe
Phoenix.
intended.
Right, exactly. So again, if you're new, make sure to leave a comment. If you're also new, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Today's 13th running of the Velocity Online Racing's 500-mile race from Indianapolis, presented by the Alzheimer's Association and ALZ.org. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. But they can't end Alzheimer's without your help. To learn more, go to ALZ.org, and the link is in the description. Track cams for this race are provided by Whiplash Sim Cams. Get the most out of your iRacing experience with Whiplash Sim Cams. To learn more about Whiplash, like them on Facebook or follow them on Twitter, or as we now say, X and Instagram. Links are in the description. For business inquiries to learn more about Velocity Online Racing and what they do, visit velocityonlineracing.com. Like them on Facebook, follow them on X. All the links you need are in the description. So for Kyle Klendworth, Andrew Wood, everyone here at Velocity Online Racing, I'm Gary Godsoe saying to all, happy Saturday and thanks for watching. And to all of our men and women serving in the military and as first responders, Godspeed, God bless, and come home safe. Catch us again right here Saturday, March 29th in Nashville for the next race of the VOR IndyCar Championship. We'll see ya.